Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Ted Santos, and I am your host of Straight Talk. We are the talk show made for men by men, except ladies. Never, ever, ever will you want to miss our show. And tonight, well, we're going to have a guest, and we don't always do that. And this is a very special guest. Many of you may have heard his name. And before I get into our guest, as you know, we are the show that is made for men. It is designed by men. And we talk about opportunities in life, in love, relationships, business. And tonight we will be looking at international business. So it's something you surely don't want to miss. As you come in, like the video and share it, because our guest is a phenomenal guy. One second. Our guest has quite a profession, and he's seen quite a bit of the world. So he is going to share with you some insights on not just travel and what life is like in other countries, and how people respond to you and the social environment, the culture. He's also going to talk about how do you make things happen in those countries? How do you build a network? How do you build a business? And he will give you an enormous amount of insight that will support you in your success. And I'm pulling a few things together here. As you all come in, like the video and share it. Share this video. Your support with the super chat be greatly appreciated. My Cash App is there, and I will drop in my PayPal. If you guys have not seen my videos on Patreon, you'll definitely want to check them out. I have a lot of videos on Patreon that I've never shared anywhere else on the internet. Grego, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Just want to check some things here. Like the video as you come in, share. Hey, thanks, Grego. What's going on, SW? Thanks for joining. So we're waiting for Dennis to join us. As you come in, like the video and share it. You want to have as many men coming into this. You guys really do want to hear this conversation. This is going to be an extremely important one. And there are all kinds of opportunities in the world for life, for business, for love. And while I've done some travel, I've lived abroad for a number of years in different countries, and without question, you get what I say, what you'll call a different vibe. So every country has its dynamic. So if you're looking to travel abroad and do business abroad, this is going to give you some real boots on the ground. You guys have figured this out. I'm going to interview Dennis Spurling. We're going to have to give him a few minutes. He's coming. He's on his way. He's going to be joining us in about 10 minutes. So, hey, Greg, I got to give a big thank you for the super chat. Thank you very much for that, man. I assume that's up in Canada, correct? Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate the support. I have a huge commitment to bring you guys a lot of knowledge and wisdom from experience. So some things you don't have to go through. Make life easier. And I'd really, it would be great to see a lot of you guys who are in here network with one another and make some things happen. So, we're going to talk about networking, business, working together, investments, and hell, if you start looking at your time as a resource, where do you best invest your time? So, yes, we all like women, but that's, that can't be the only thing that you pursue in life. So we're looking at where are the opportunities, and if we can even look at where there may be some opportunities right here in the U.S. With our collective. But it's a big world out there. What are there, about 194 countries? Even more languages spoken around the world. We'll talk about some countries where you can get away with English a little bit, but it's honestly, after I've lived abroad, I lived in Mexico, I lived in Belize, and I lived in Costa Rica. I spent 2.5 years. Well, actually, I left the country in 96, came back in 99. And I never came back to the U.S. during that time. And I left speaking English, came back speaking Spanish and Portuguese. So learning a language and learning the culture is exceptionally valuable if you want to do business in other places. And even if you bring that knowledge back here, it can actually open doors for you to do things. So travel has an exceptional impact. And there is a study, and I can tell you guys about this study. Very interesting study on the impact of being immersed in other cultures. So a series of research studies from INSEAD, INSEAD, INSEAD and Northwestern University sheds light on how leaders can overcome the paralysis that characterize borders leadership. Researchers studied the problem-solving skills and creativity levels of individuals who have lived in 2 or more cultures versus those who have never lived abroad. The findings from the research demonstrates that when individuals are forced to confront competing assumptions and norms through living abroad, the boundaries of their assumptions and related defenses soften. The concepts of the right way versus the wrong way break down, instead of responding to a challenge like a deer in the headlights, they see connections and patterns that most others don't see and find the most creative opportunities. So traveling just gives you your own personal development, your own personal benefit, like you just can't lose. And if you immerse yourself in another culture and learn how things are done there, you can see yourself differently. You'll see the world differently. And as this is saying, the way you address problems, you have different perspectives built into your mindset. Okay, cool. So we're really going to get into I just gave you one benefit of traveling. So the benefit of your own personal development, and that's something no one can take away from you. You can always build on it, and it makes you a more versatile person. It gives you many more perspectives when you're engaging and negotiating with people. And it actually, even learning another language really helps your communication skills, because when you're learning another language, you really understand how important it is to be clear on what you're saying. Because, I was in Costa Rica, and one day I wanted to ask the people in the store who spoke zero English, do you have machetes? And that is, ¿tú tienes machetes? Oh, hold on. So when you build wealth and knowledge, just I love that. Thanks for joining. You build wealth and knowledge, everything else will follow, including women. We just have to be cautious how we step due to the current journey. Yeah, good words, Grego. Yeah, I'm back. You should be able to hear me now, Greg. So you guys, many of you know Dennis Spurling, attorney, world traveler, entrepreneur, and if you've heard of any of his songs, the smooth, suave sounds that he's made in the studio, he sounds like he might have a second career on his hands. So, and if any one of you don't know him, he's been a huge advocate for Black men. And he's talked about quite a few of the challenges with police brutality and some of the social challenges faced by Black men in the U.S. He's been a huge stand for Black men. And as a Black man born and raised in the U.S., he has been able to explore many countries from a social and a business perspective. And as I was saying, he has learned language and culture. So I think you're going to be surprised and impressed. If you already know him, tonight you're going to see a whole nother side of him. You're going to really get to know who is the real Dennis Spurling, who you guys call Uncle D. stand up. So let's bring him in. Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey Ted, how you doing? Thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here, man. I'm excited about talking to your guests. Being one of your guests and talking to the folks that patronize your forum. Thank you so much for having me here, man.
No, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you here, man. I've seen quite a few of your videos. Like you're just a huge advocate for Black men. Some of the things that you lay out, about people knowing the laws and knowing their way around and uh, really taking on a new mindset and understanding the kind of culture and environment you in. You've been a huge stand, so I want to acknowledge you for that first.
Well, it comes naturally. I mean, I'm a black man and then I have three black sons, and so because of that, I realize that the life that I save may be my own or my children's. And so what I
Right.
try to do is put good messages out there, good positive messages, uplifting messages. My ultimate goal is to have healthy, strong, financially stable, emotionally stable, physically fit black men in the United States as counterparts and brothers. And that makes better Americans and makes for a better America. So,
Right.
that's kind of where I'm coming from.
All right, cool. Well done. And I think many know you for that. And, you've also done quite a bit of traveling on your part. So
Yeah.
just in case no one knows, where are you from originally?
I was born in Los Angeles, California, and soon thereafter I moved to Houston, Texas, with my mom and my adoptive father. From there, I kind of was shoveled back and forth. But as I became a man, I ended up in Louisiana, where I attended university at Grambling State University, HBCU. From there, I was accepted to Southern University, where I got my JD. I got interested in environmental science in Grambling. And so I graduated with my degree in biology, went to Southern. I became the president of the Environmental Law Society. That kind of got me into activism as far as environmental racism and then environmental issues altogether. That led me to Tulane, where I got my LLM in environmental energy related law. But before that, I took the bar, got a perfect score on the bar examination, and I
Did
started
you
practicing.
really?
I did. I
Wow.
did. First time I took it, I studied 16 hours a day for about 9 weeks straight. One night I recall, and I talk about it in my books, I nearly went blind, because I'm studying so hard. But after that, I practiced law for about 10 years, and then I decided to go back to school where I was working on a master's degree in environmental science, a PhD in environmental molecular toxicology, and another PhD in environmental planning. And I was doing it all at the same time. I finished with the master's, got halfway through with the PhD, and then I just decided I got to get back to practicing law. That took like 4 years, and I
Right,
was
right.
almost finished with law. That's one of my biggest regrets, not getting my PhDs when I was that close. But other than that, I'm okay with it.
Just a regular guy. So
Yeah.
two PhDs simultaneously. That they even allowed that? I thought they would buck on that.
Well, I got a special waiver because I basically blew through their master's degree program in two
Okay.
semesters. And so, I said, well, I'm still here. It's only taking me a year. Let me do your PhDs. So I started working on the PhDs, and I'm like, well, let me just do both of these at the same time because while I'm here, I'm a professional. But the thing about practicing law, the way I do, is you're always having to cases might go on for years.
Right.
So, the ins and outs of a case is kind of equivalent to attaining a degree. So your brain stretches. People think after college, oh, the hardest thing I'll ever do is done. Wait till you get out in the world and you start practicing as a professional.
Right.
That's when it really
Exactly.
gets tough.
Yeah. I lived with an attorney for 5 years. So I
Yeah.
met her while she was in law school.
Oh man,
So
bless.
I
Oh
watched
man.
her study for the bar. It's
Mhm.
a little bit of that leave me alone, I have to study kind of thing. But
Yeah.
a lot of people have to take that more than once. So I mean, you got a perfect score. That says a lot about you.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, man, coming from where I came from, South Central LA, and then coming from the relationship that I had with my parents, and basically growing up in the hood, I knew there was nothing for me to go back to. And on top of that, I was running. I was running away from the hood. I was running away from what I had to endure, the police, the helicopters, the gang violence, the drugs, not having control of my own life because of the environment that I lived in. At any point, your life could be taken. So basically, what that did to me is it put me on a treadmill on 10. And so I just pushed and I pushed and I pushed and I ran through everything. So getting a perfect score on the bar examination was my assurance that I wouldn't have to go back to the hood. You see, so that was my motivation. And it took me
Okay.
up until probably about 2012 when I stopped. Well, 2011, well, I say 2012 when I stopped running away from those experiences that I growing up in South Central Los Angeles.
Very interesting, really, man. Really,
Yeah.
that's fairly recent. I mean, you've been a professional since before that, right?
Yeah. I graduated from Southern in 2000 and I had to start practicing law immediately thereafter. It was difficult early on, but yeah, that didn't stop it. I mean, I was running scared. I literally, you know, it, there's a certain fatalism that you grow up with as a young black man. When I was a young man, the word was that you're lucky if you can live to be 26 years old.
Right,
You
right.
know, with the murder rate and the incarceration rate and all the other pitfalls that we had, once I was able to get to a place where I could actually, I was actually in charge of my own destiny. Then I took the reins and I moved forward and I never looked back. So again, it's only now that I'm calm enough to I can really begin to enjoy life. But I really didn't start enjoying life until about 2012. Yeah.
Let me just in if so, I'd like you to be an inspiration for the listeners, the people who are listening, and uh, while a lot of people do get an LLM, it's just not that common.
Right.
Probably a lot of people go to law school and never practice law.
Right.
And but for you to get an LLM, that really sets you apart. Like what did that? What do you think that allowed you to do that? Not just only having a JD, and not when I say only a JD, I'm not minimizing a JD, but that
Right.
you went really above and beyond to do that.
Well, is an interesting story about that, man. I again I was a junior well, not a junior. I was a second year law student at Southern University, and there was a plant right next door to the Southern University plant, and they had contracted with a military base in San Diego to burn napalm era gasoline. What that
Whoa!
means is they had Vietnam era gasoline or
Wow!
Vietnam era napalm, and they saturated it with gasoline so it wouldn't be so flammable.
Right,
But they had this company, Rhodesia, which was right next door to our university campus, had said, "Yeah, we'll get rid of it because we can use it as a fuel." That plant actually created vanilla and other kind of products that people use for food.
right,
But the thing was, it's a case of environmental racism. You wouldn't burn this in the rich part of town, but you wouldn't even build a plant there. You burn it
right,
next to us. But then you have all these uh, reproduction age children and young people attending this university. Southern University in Baton Rouge is one of the largest, well, the largest university, largest HBCU in America. And so now you got all these kids. So I was drawn in as the president of the Environmental Law Society to advocate on behalf of the students. So what ended up happening is I did that. Now, trust me, I was afraid because here you got this guy from California out here in Louisiana getting in these Louisiana politics. I was quoted in the newspaper as saying the governor Mike Foster his administration has been a cancer on the people of Louisiana. I went and testified before Congress. I made a lot of noise. I was out front. I was protesting. I was there in the thick of it. I actually put some Facebook posts up sometime, and people were like, "Wow, that's you from back in the day." Yeah, standing and doing that. But this is what I did at 24 years old,
okay,
knowing that this would permanently bar me from being able to work for any Louisiana governmental agency.
interesting,
I knew I would be blackballed no matter what. So it
right.
was no looking back because it was something that I knew I had to do for my people and for myself. And so I went and I spoke, and lo and behold, and I was afraid because if you know anything about Louisiana politics, you could end up in the swamp somewhere if you cross the wrong
Right,
people.
right, exactly.
But the good people down at Tulane Law School, they saw my advocacy, they saw my quotes in the newspaper, they saw my efforts, and they said, "You know what? You're the type of person we need here." I was probably the only Black American man that was in that program, in that entire law school at the time. Not just the LLM program, but you got a lot of black people from other countries. You have a lot of black people, a lot of folks from minority folks from other countries, but you don't have a lot of black Americans. And so, I got there. That program usually takes 2 years, 3 years. I blew through that program in 1 year.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Wow.
I took every class they offered. They gave me a scholarship. I was still poor and broke, but they gave me a scholarship. And you got to understand, in the black community, and you say LLMs are unusual, right? This is for
Right.
everybody. This is what those law professors get so that they can qualify to teach you. It usually takes them years of practicing law before they're even invited to an LLM program. And just so you guys understand, some of the professors that taught me at Southern didn't just got their LLMs, whereas
Wow.
I'm one of their law school students, and
Wow.
I'm going right out of JD, right out of a JD program into an LLM program. I was basically the talk of the law school, because like, this is unheard of,
The
because
precedent. Right.
you can kind of see my personality is one gregarious. I wasn't the law student that was walking around with suits. I wasn't politicking. I wasn't joining this organization. I didn't try to interview with the big defense firms, because it didn't suit me. The bottom line is, I ended up at Tulane. I ran through their program in a year. That allowed me to get a job working as a law clerk, and that in a courthouse, and that set me on my path. It was some other stuff that happened in between that, but for the most part, yeah, it helped me out tremendously, and that because me advocating on behalf of my people, me speaking the truth on behalf of my people, me not being afraid, or being afraid, but still
Still,
allowing
definitely.
courage. Yeah,
Right.
right. So, and that's why I know that speaking the truth and advocating on behalf, that's my calling. So, that's it in a nutshell, man. I speak about it more in my books, Rules to Live By, How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness in a Conflicted World. I think we talked about that a little bit, but those books are available on Amazon. It's an inspiring story for anybody interested. And
Give the titles of your book again.
I actually have them here. They are
Yeah.
Rules to Live By, How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness in a Conflicted World. It's You can find them on Amazon. Just Google Dennis Spurling, which is my name. You can find it on Amazon. Just type in Dennis Spurling, and all three of them come. It starts off, I tell you about my time at Manual Arts High School in South Central LA. I take you through the riots. I take you through the history of that part of the city, and I bring you all the way down to Brazil and all these different places I've gone to, and it shows you what you can do if you really put your mind to it, man. So yeah,
So what? Let me give an acknowledgement to someone who's from your part of the world. So hard
right.
to be toiler, Dennis.
That's right. Toilet City. I played football at Manual Arts High School from 1989 to 2000, 1989 to 91. I was a starting left tackle for my junior year and senior year. We only do 3 years of high school there. So yeah, that's the Toilet City, man. Toilet means a hard worker, you
Okay.
know. Yeah, and I left there with that's one thing that growing up in LA let me do. Once you get me out there, once you give me a fair shot, or even get me close to a fair shot, I'm gonna outwork everybody in the room. I tell my sons all the time, you know, you want to strive for excellence, but success is sufficient. See, excellence is you do it perfectly. Success is when you beat everybody in the room. And no matter what room you put me in, I'm going to beat everybody in that room, no matter what. I don't care if they went to Harvard, Yale. I'm going to beat them, and they're going to say, wow, he beat us fair and square. They don't know how it happens, but I find a way, and I thank God for that blessing.
Well said. And
Yeah.
so West Coast Reg,
Woo woo.
thanks for the $5 super chat.
Yeah,
He's been a great supporter of mine, and
that's what's
uh,
up.
he said I think he contacted you. Uh,
Yeah, he did. He did.
yeah.
He and I went to Manual Arts together. I didn't know him at first because we get older, and
Right.
then I recognize, like, oh yeah, I know who that is, man. So
Okay.
shout out to my toilet family, man. I never forget where I came from. Manual Arts High is my shout out to that purple and gray, man. We work hard, and hard work is my grandmother was a woman from Mississippi. She was an elderly woman from Mississippi by the time I met her. But she instilled me work ethic, love for God. But there's really no answer for hard work. And so as long as you're willing to work hard and then you add a certain level of intelligence and smart work into that, you can be successful. You can pretty much work your way out of any issue that you're in. Now, you might fall back, you might stumble, but as long as you're willing to work hard, man, things will work out for you. In some other countries, it doesn't really matter how hard you work. And that's the thing that, I have 3 sons and I've taken my sons to Belize. And I think that was the first time they saw abject poverty and they saw people that looked like them. And they saw children walking around their age with no shoes on, dog feces. And, here we are staying in this lavish 2, 3 story condo overlooking the beach. And then when we take a little boat ride somewhere else, they see these children who are their age and who look like them, who are their color, living in abject poverty. And, I think that's something that's important for me to instill in my sons. And I
Right.
think that keeps me humble also, which is why I'm willing to talk to folks on a daily basis like I do.
So I spent some time. I actually spent quite a few months in Belize,
Mhm.
Belize City. I
Yeah,
actually went and lived out with the Mayan Indians. No electricity, no one running water in the jungle.
right.
Very interesting. So
Mhm.
you must have seen some of that poverty in Belize City.
Yeah. I've seen it in Belize. I've seen it in Brazil. I've seen it in Dominican Republic. I've seen it in a lot of places where our African ancestors landed. And one thing I do find oftentimes is it's always the darker races who are at the lower end of the social
Right.
economic spectrum. And I think we as Black Americans and those of us who, even if you're from those countries, you have an obligation to educate your brothers and sisters and to also talk to your other Black American brothers and sisters. And what I try to do is get the brothers to travel. And, I'll give them incentives, but oftentimes those incentives are women, but, look at these beautiful women. But when they get over there, they see just how much opportunity there is for their American ingenuity and their American money. And so that's another thing that I try to do on my pages also.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk
Mhm.
about uh, maybe it's too many for you to list, but let's give it a shot. How many countries have you been to?
Oh, well, I've been to, let's say I'll start with the continents. I've been to Europe, I've been to South America, of course, North America. But that's it. I haven't really gone to Asia. I haven't had any interest to go to Australia. I kind of go where my people are. Now I ended up in England because, it was just an opportunity to go over there and hang out. Not really my place, but I love South America. I love Central America. I do have my Ghanaian uh, visa, and I plan to go this year, but because of the Rona, I decided to push that down the road a little bit until
Okay.
things clear up. Yeah, but I had planned to go for the 400-year anniversary of homecoming, but it didn't work out, and then things came up, and now here we are in the midst of the pandemic, so I was unable to do that.
So you've been traveling for a few years now. I
Yeah,
mean so you and I spoke about that. Like Black Americans, only about 2 or 3% own a passport.
right.
So
Right.
that will. I've been looking at social media, especially Instagram. It seems like you're seeing more travel. At least you're seeing more pictures. But I
Yeah,
don't think that changes the fact that only a small percentage own a passport. I
yeah,
mean, that's still a fact. So, what I'm going to make an assumption that you come from a part of California where international travel is not something that people talk about. So,
yeah.
you grew that travel bug from something else.
It did. It's very interesting that you bring that up. So I didn't really go anywhere until I was 29 years old. I graduated from law school. I had my LLM. A couple of buddies of mine, my God, this was 2004. A couple of buddies of mine said, "Hey man, we're going down to Brazil," and that was at the time they had this beautiful song out by Snoop Dogg, "Beautiful Favorite Girl." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's where I want to go, right? Black man heaven, right? Yeah,
Right, right.
right." And so, man, I went down there. I hustled up. I got my passport. Apparently, I was like, "Oh, you can get your passport in 2 days. You get your birth certificate sent to you." Blah blah. Oh man. So I hustled and hustled, and unfortunately, man, the friend that inspired me to go, Mr. Spurling, he passed away about 2 weeks ago. but he was always a great friend. He and his cousin, he had, I believe, they said he had some heart conditions, but I believe it was a complication from, maybe COVID-19. I'm not sure. I don't want to get into it, but
Right,
he's
right,
a dear friend of mine. We attended law school together. He and his cousin, Stephen Sterling. We sat next to sat next to each other because my name is Spurling and
right,
theirs was Sterling and
right,
Sterling. And so it's Spurling, Sterling, and Sterling. I remember my tort professor said, "Oh, Spurling, Sterling, and Sterling. That sounds like a law firm." First day of law school, and we hit it off ever since then. And so here it was, 2004, about 3 years after we grad, well, 4 years after we graduated. I was 3 years out. I was at my first job as an associate. I had a couple extra bucks to spend. It was a week trip to Brazil, and man, when I went down there, I'm like, oh my God. Of course, once you get over the initial shock that these people are beautiful, these women are beautiful, I love the food, you realize these are my people.
right,
I didn't know that there were black people in this hemisphere that spoke anything other than English. I didn't know that there was a whole country of people that spoke Portuguese that looked like me or looked similar to me or looked like somebody that was related to me.
right,
Like these are my people. Like, oh my God. Now, of course, most men go down there because they're beautiful women down there. They go down there for the beaches. They go down there to party. And, of course, people go down there for business. But man, I'm telling you, that was the first time, and I was like, this is it. But at the point, I had just met my now former ex-wife, or my ex-wife, and I was like, well, I'm committed now. I'm getting old. I'm 30 years old now. I'm getting old. It's time for me to settle down. 30 is, damn near ancient. Oh my God, I've been out of high school for 12 years. Time for me to settle down, right?
right,
Because
right.
I adhere to the rhetoric that most of us listen to, not knowing that 30 years old, man, you are still a
No,
baby. You just getting going
exactly.
as
Right,
a man. Think about it. I hadn't even lived life yet. I was running from the hood so long. Graduated at 27 or 26. Graduated, got all my degrees, start working. So I never really had an opportunity to date or anything like that. I never got a chance to experience life or enjoy the money. And I jumped right into a marriage, not knowing anything there is to know about what it takes to be in a marriage or women for that
right,
matter.
right, right.
So
Whammy, bang, bang. Right,
bang, bang, bang. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm taking hits, right? And so, unfortunately, as many starter marriages do, that one failed. And then, after it was over with,
people say that. I'm sorry. The starter marriage, man. Come on, man. It's like, come on. I'm gonna just crank you up just for me to get warmed up to see what
yeah, right, right. Well,
you
man, the thing is,
that one.
well, I mean, okay, so I don't give relationship advice. I don't. What I do on my page is I try to heal black men
Right,
in
right,
the form of by talking to them, letting them know you're not the only one out there. I try to inspire them with my story. I open up. I try to let them know you're not the only one out there who's doing or dealing with what you're dealing with.
right, right,
Uh, that said, there's a lot of things about women that we're not taught. For instance, if you're going to have a woman, that's like a job. If you're going to be in a relationship, it's going to take a lot of effort, more so than just providing a roof and food and clothing. You got to know who you're dealing with. You got to know the ins and outs of that woman. And she should know you too. You need to know what her favorite color is. You need to be able to look at your woman's face and figure out how she's feeling at
right,
that moment.
right,
You see what I'm saying?
right,
And you got to realize you have to uh, determine very early on in that relationship if that's someone you can deal with, if that's someone whose set of issues that she brings to the table is something you deem worth your time and your while. If you find value in her and you think it's worth the investment and the time, go forward. But if you quickly learn that this is not a woman with a set of issues I can deal with, you should move on, not do that, not cause any more damage than the woman has already had to deal with, and not cause any damage or trauma to yourself. Now, that's pretty much what I didn't understand before I got married. I'm not disparaging my lovely ex-wife. She's a lovely woman. God bless her. I wish her the best. I hope that after this custody agreement, this custody dispute that we're currently embroiled in is resolved, we can get back to being one happily separated group of individuals. Yes, as soon as the paperwork is signed by the judge, we pray that everything go back to normal. But that said, I didn't know a damn thing about women, and I shouldn't have got married. And anybody who cared about me and loved me shouldn't have let me enter that
I
star.
told you, right? Is she an attorney also?
You say again, brother?
Is she an attorney also?
Absolutely not. I will never date or marry an attorney. I will say that. I meant you mentioned that earlier. It's not happening ever, 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 ever. Okay.
I got it.
That's,
Clear as a
yeah,
bell. I won't even tell you the jokes people would say when they
yeah.
like, oh, you're dating an attorney.
Hmm.
They had an interesting way to express that, to say it's better to be on the end you're on than the other end.
Oh my God. Right, right, right. Yeah, man. I'll pass on the attorney. I mean, some lovely attorney ladies out there, but you and I would never get along. We just don't. We don't need to be together. God bless you. I wish you well. I hope you get all the client. Hope your clients pay on time. All of them. God bless you, but not me. That's not something I'm interested
Let me give an acknowledgement to someone.
in.
Alton Prayer, $25 super chat. Big thank you. Great show, Ted. You're interviewing my favorite lawyer on the planet, Uncle D. Keep
Hmm.
great work, cause it's needed. So
Yeah.
you got a big fan out there. So
Yeah, Alton Prayer, he's constantly he comes to my pages and different things. So, I have a lot of guys, but they come to my pages. But see the thing, they call me Uncle D and they kind of endeared me to. I'm the uncle that many of them never had. Realistically, I'm also like a father figure to many of these young men because
right,
they've never had an opportunity to even speak with a man, who can kind of relate to what they're dealing with. I don't talk at them. I actually ask questions of them and I listen to them and I acknowledge them and I acknowledge their pain and I don't judge them. I simply try to give them what bit of wisdom that I can. And so, and the other thing is, man, I'm humble. I'm a humble man. I'm not haughty. I've been very successful as an attorney, and God has blessed me with, all these opportunities, and I've capitalized on them. And but I never forget where I came from, and I never forget what it was like to be who I was and be in the situations that I was in back then. Being a young inner city youth, being raised by a single mom, grandma and extended family, not knowing who my real father was, having that dispute to deal with, the anger, the rage, being surrounded by other angry young men who are
right,
also
exactly.
angry.
Right,
And so
right.
that further complicates the problem. So yeah, man, I understand what these young brothers are going through, and it's not just young men; it's also older men. And growing up black in Black America is one thing. Growing up black male in Black America is a whole nother animal. So I know what they're going through, and that's why I think they follow me and enjoy what I'm saying.
I just quick because I want to talk about the traveling.
Mhm.
How did you stay out of trouble in that environment? I mean, like having that anger and around other people, and when guys have anger, they have a way of expressing it, and it's not
Yeah.
through fighting. There are other ways to express it that gets you in trouble. How did you
Well,
stay away from that?
I didn't stay out of trouble. I mean, I was I often remarked that my cousin Taran and we were horrible children. I mean, I remember one year we would end up watching this cartoon called Heathcliff, and the cartoon character was a cartoon cat, right? This orange cat, and he would walk around the neighborhood flipping over trash cans. And so we got it in our minds that we were going to do Heathcliff that day. So we just walked around the neighborhood, both having ditched class or played hooky from class, depending on your generational take on it, and flipped over all the trash cans in the neighborhood. I mean, we would break into during our summer activities was breaking into the local school, into the bungalows, stealing stuff, and just horrible, just horrible, mischievous children. But then, as I look back at it, I realized we had absolutely no activities, no structure. We had no sort of adult guidance. It was just like the door was open, and we were unleashed onto the world with no guidance. I don't ever remember having a curfew. It's probably only by, the skin of my teeth that I don't have a felony record. You know, uh, it's just growing up in South Central LA. There's several times where I've been, in a location where someone was shot. I never joined any gangs. And I think the reason behind that is because I had a big loving family, even though there was issues with the family. Because oftentimes in Black American households, there's family violence. There's
Frustration.
Yeah,
Right.
there's people don't know how to resolve their issues. So
Right.
I witnessed a lot of that, and that was a lot of trauma. But the bottom line is, man, I think what happened is once I got to high school, I began playing football, and that kind of put me on the track. Whether or not I was going to get a scholarship or not, at least I was still focused on the second
Yeah,
level,
exactly.
trying to get to school. By happenstance, a man came to my high school, Manual Arts High, and he was looking for some students who could possibly enroll in a HBCU. I had been successfully blocked out because my Spanish teacher got angry with me because of a comment I made about the LA riots. He was insisting on the fact this is a white Hispanic gentleman from Mexico. He was insisting on the fact that there was a bunch of black people out there stealing TVs and VCRs and radios. And I said, no, as an eyewitness, I'm telling you that there were all races of people, Asian, white, Hispanic, out
Right.
there rioting and stealing things. It wasn't just black people. He
Right.
called me stupid in class, and I got angry. But instead of lashing out at him or running up to him and fighting him, I left the class. I went and told the principal, and we had a meeting about it soon after. But see, he still had a vendetta against me, so he gave me a D in Spanish, which successfully locked me out of the California
Oh, wow.
university system. It was that one grade that prevented me from
Wow.
ever attending a California university. But this HBCU recruiter came. He said, "Man, we ain't worried about that Spanish, man. We know what you've been through. Fill this application out." I said, "Well, I only got a 750 on the SAT." He said, "That's pretty good. Look where you come from." He didn't talk to me very long, but
Right.
I got the $25 application fee. I filled it out. Next thing you know, I was accepted to Grambling State University with my 2.6 GPA. And just so you know, it wasn't an intelligence thing. It was an environment thing. My
Right.
first semester at Grambling, I got a 3.7 GPA out of 4.0 in science.
Wow.
Once I got a place where I could eat 3 meals a day, there weren't any helicopters flying over at night. There weren't any, I wasn't getting shot at. I didn't have to interpret the graffiti on the wall to determine if it was safe for me to walk down the street. I didn't have a mother yelling and screaming at whoever she was yelling and screaming at the time,
Right. Right.
and I didn't have to deal with that. And so having that peace of mind and happiness allowed me to flourish. And that's been the hallmark of my life.
Do you think so in that environment, uh, I would say it's probably fair to say the conflict resolution wasn't something people focused on having those
No,
skills. So do
no.
you, having gone to law school helped you, or you kind of developed that on your own, or?
Well, I think that, after that starter marriage ended, because we had, my ex-wife is an educated woman. Again, she's a wonderful human being, nothing bad to say about her. God bless her
This is
soul. I
being
hope,
recorded, and he
yeah,
said, she's
yeah, I hope that lovely lady and that shining prince that she's dating now go on off and have a wonderful life together. Praise God. But no, we probably needed to take some courses on conflict resolution, and because it is what it is. If you don't know how to resolve conflict, then you can't maintain a happy relationship.
so. And I know you don't give relationship advice, but is that something that you would say is at the top of the list that people should develop, just as a general purpose, not just for relationships, just for life?
Yeah, if you don't know how to resolve conflict, you can't have peace in your life. And if you can't have peace, you can't have happiness. It's going to be hard to receive the gifts that God has for you to receive because you're always going to be embroiled in conflict and violence. And there's always going to be somebody for you to fight with. And as long as you're fighting, you're not going to be able to be productive as you want to be. That's why my books are called How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness in a Conflicted World. Emotional, physical, spiritual, intellectual. There's so much to deal with.
So, and so the way you just said that is, I think, the reverse of what most people are looking for peace, and you're saying look for the ability to resolve conflict, and then
Right.
peace will be there when you know how to resolve. So if you're in the middle of chaos, if you can manage yourself in chaos, peace
Right.
will be right. It will follow.
That's exactly right. People looking for peace. There's no peace as long as you have internal conflict.
Exactly.
You're right. And so, their life is about conflict. You only have two states, either conflict or peace. And I break this down in my books, man. And I hate to keep sending these shameless plugs out here, but
It's
You know,
cool.
these books I feel were divinely inspired, and they really have helped me sort out my internal feelings, and it's really put me on this path. It wasn't until 2012, or really, it wasn't until after I got a divorce in 2011 or 2010 and 2011 when I started writing these books. In 2017 is when I finished. It was only after that that I rewrote basically the entire history of my life and analyzed using
Wow.
some biblical stuff that I really began to see the patterns. And what I saw was a pattern of not being able to resolve conflict. And so once I recognized that, then I began to assess what the issues were in each one of those situations. And see, what I've learned is some conflict you can't resolve and you got to walk away from it. Some people, you will never have peace with them. So you have to just put distance between yourself and those people. Some things you can resolve, but for the most part, you have to know when to let it go and when to move on, because you can hold on to people that can permanently disturb your peace of mind and happiness, and your quality of life will, hit the toilets by that point.
Well, and it sounds like you're also saying the number one conflict to be able to resolve is in yourself, because when you
Ah,
resolve the
yes.
conflict in yourself, it makes it easy. You're less likely to be triggered by the other person, and you can actually talk. Once you're triggered, it's almost like you have blinders or there's dust in your eyes and you can't really see. So
Yeah.
if you resolve the conflict in yourself, it makes it much easier to engage the person for what they actually said, not for what you think they triggered you to do.
Hey, yes.
So
Yes.
I don't want to give away your book, but it sounds like you're getting at that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Know thyself. That's 7 years of me writing that book. I learned who I was. I wrote it down. I cried. I got angry. I relived the triumphs that I have, and I really got to know who I am. And what it is an exercise in learning yourself. And see, once you know yourself, then you will learn. You will see those same things in others around you, and it allows you to better understand who you're dealing with. And that's
Exactly.
basically what I did. That's basically what I did. And here I am. Um, and I thank God for the position that I'm in now. But God, I feel that God had to put me through that crucible so that I could be a better advocate on behalf of not just Black men, but all human beings. Because I advocate on behalf of Black men because Black men don't have an advocate here in the United States. But at the end of the day, I consider myself a human being, and I hope that all human beings would begin to understand that it's really just about conflict and peace. There's a lot of things that we have in this world that stem from some person or personality that has not adequately learned to resolve the conflict within. Some of our greatest men in history, our greatest warriors, Napoleon, Alexander the Great,
Hannah,
they were internally conflicted. And so because of that, they lashed out and
the
caused so
world.
much mayhem. Right.
So let's. With that said, I'm one question I want to get to is what you learned about yourself by going abroad. Before we do that,
Uh,
so Brazil was the first time you traveled internationally,
yeah. Yes, it was. It was the
and
first time
that was just for fun. You were hanging out with some guys, you had a good time,
mhm.
made your head spin a little bit to see
Yeah.
women who look that good, right?
Yeah. And that kind and
Where did
nurturing.
you go? You went to Rio, or
I went to Rio. It was 2004, man. We partied, we drank, we had a good time. We ended up in some places we shouldn't have ended up in, but for the most part, nothing I want to talk about on the live vlog. But give me a call later on. I'll give you the stories. But in actuality, I actually refer to some of the experiences in my books, not in a derogatory manner or anything, but you get the point, But it's definitely a tale for young men to read, no different than Oliver's Travels or the great Iliad, Iliad and the Odyssey,
right?
things that men do when they get out abroad and they get to do what men want to do. If you turn a dog loose in the woods, you'll really figure out what dogs like to do. But as long as you have that dog chained up in the yard and you've got this little sweater on him and you're feeding him Alpo, you really don't know what's in that dog. But if you let him loose, the wolf will come out and you'll start seeing them like, oh my God, I can't believe Scruffy is that
Oh,
disgusting, you
right.
know?
Dog, look at my dog, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So Brazil was for fun. Uh, right now, you have, And I know there are lots of men in the U.S.
Mm,
of many ethnic groups that do business abroad. Um, and there are a lot of guys who travel abroad to have a good time. But
mm,
you sort of mixed business and pleasure, and it
yeah,
seems that you've done them both very well. So what made you start looking at business as opposed to just, you could have continued on with, well, Brazil has beautiful women, where else can I go? And you could
right,
have gone on with, have a good time and stories I can't tell you about.
right.
Somewhere something went on for you to say, there's something else here.
Man, in 2011, after my divorce, I was reeling, because um, it just was painful, and I start thinking like, what have I done? What's wrong with me? And that's what inspired me to write the book. And then I went to the Dominican Republic, and initially I went down. This is the second trip I've ever had anywhere, right? A friend of mine said, go down to the Dominican Republic. You'd like it. I heard it's pretty cool down there. But I went down there, man, and the intent was to go out there and hang out and blow off some steam. But after about a day and a half of being in an area where everybody else was there to party and BS, I was like, I don't want to be here.
Mm,
And so I went to another city. And while I was there, I met someone, a nice young lady. She was a student. And she just catered to me. She was really sweet to me. And I thought initially it was just her. And then I would come back time to time over the years, and I would realize this is not a fluke. These women are simply culturally different.
right,
These
right.
men are culturally different. This is how they operate. Their culture is designed so that they can have peace of mind and happiness. Everybody knows their role. Everybody knows what role they should be playing. And because of that, they get along. Whether or not you consider eating bananas and rice and beans, or happy as they say, every night, poverty or not, uh, they had peace of mind and happiness more than what I had with 3 law degrees, making, I don't know, probably at that time, $400,000 a year. And I was not at peace, but they were. And so I began to analyze, and that played a big role into my book writing. I realized that it wasn't necessarily me. It was the environment that I was living in the United States. It was the culture that I existed in. And the other thing I realized is that, when I went down there, I realized, man, these people look like me.
Right.
If it wasn't for the fact that I only spoke English at the time, I would blend right in with these folks. These are my people. Matter of fact, then I come to learn that the Dominican Republic was a way station between Africa and the northern and southern hemispheres in America. They
Mm,
would come there and stop off and then distribute. So I'm like, these are my people. So, I began to take a very serious look at it. And, I love the Dominican Republic. I love the people of the Dominican Republic. I mean, at this point, I probably, over the past 10 years, I've only dated Dominican women because of that
really?
since my divorce. I think I may have had one African American girlfriend at that time. But once I got there and I start realizing how I should be treated, what good treatment feels like, what respect feels like, what being honored as a man feels like, I couldn't go back. And here's another thing. I got to figure out how I can set roots up here because these are my people. I want to help these people.
Right, right,
And so, that's kind of what happened, man. And it was the drive came. I'm the type of person you got to give me something to do. Or I'm gonna find something to do. I'm gonna either take 3 PhD or 2 PhD programs at the same time. I'm gonna write 7 albums and hip hop out. I'm gonna make a reality TV show. I'm gonna write a 700-page book. I'm gonna do something, and so I have to do that. That's just the type of engine that I have. My engine is always going. Once you turn me loose, I'm going. So now here I am motivated to number one, help my people. Number one, to give back to this country of people who has basically reinvigorated me, and taught me what love for self should be and how I should be treated as a man. And so I could never go back to the person that I used to be. So
mm,
why did I invest? How have I about? Well, first I went out down there to BS and play around, but then I realized no, I have to do more than that. And I have to begin to give back. And it motivated me to bring my sons down there. My sons have spent more time we've spent months at a time down there. They have
No kidding.
friends. Yeah, they've gone down there and we've stayed for a month at a time. They've taken Shotokan classes and judo classes, and they've made friends. We've spent time there. They play baseball with the children. And if anybody knows anything about Dominican baseball, they pretty much run the MLB right now because they're the players of choice because they work hard. So I take my sons. They've made friends down there, man, and it's just become my thing. Even my current girlfriend, soon to be fiance, from she's born in Massachusetts, Ivy League educated, but her parents are both Dominican.
Oh,
And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, baby. We can do that. You be whoever you were growing up in your household. You can be that right down here in Texas because that's just what I'm looking for.
right, right,
And I tell her all the time, baby, you don't mess around and mess up because I'll be in your home country where your people are.
right, right.
Right.
And that's interesting because even, yeah, so a lot of people say, well, when you come to the US, that they just completely changed to being in
Mm-hmm.
the US, but the Latino culture is very well preserved here in the US. I mean, sometimes they find areas where
Mm-hmm.
you can't even hardly survive if you don't speak Spanish. So that
Right.
part of the way is a language barrier, but the
Exactly.
male female interactions, whether it's the daughter who makes sure she takes care of daddy and her brothers, there's a caring that exists in the
Yeah.
culture.
And I'm glad you brought that point up, and I think I know where you're going. Since being there, having lived there, having literally have houses there, I've learned to speak Spanish. And in learning to speak the Spanish, which is the language they speak in the Dominican Republic, and I also have had a home in Colombia, but learning to speak the language unlocked the culture. And
Right,
once you unlock the culture, you understand it, and then it becomes part of you. And
right,
so my Dominican girlfriend, soon to be fiance, um, I understand her culture. And so because of that, I understand the expectations that are placed on her and the expectations that I have for myself. And she and I understand it works. Even when I was dating women in the Dominican Republic, because I understand their culture and I understand their language, they couldn't treat me like the typical gringo. They basically had to treat me like a high value Hispanic or Dominican man. And
right.
so it was like, okay, we actually got to work with this guy. Like he's not just some gringo coming down here. That he lives here. Like, and some of the women that I would date down there, one in particular, she got angry with me because I said, I'm not moving back to the United States. We gonna stay here. And she was like, oh, yo quiero llegar a Estados Unidos, papi. I said, no, yo llegar, yo vivo aquí contigo, amor. Tú necesitas cocinar todos los días.
We're
And
home.
so,
We're
yeah.
home.
Yeah. And so the thing was, man, I say all that to say that if you master the culture, you understand the language, you master the culture, and then you incorporate a woman from that culture in your life, she'll understand that you have expectations for her that are very similar to those that the men in her culture put on her. And so she has no choice but basically to stay in that same cultural position. And that is where everybody knows what their roles are. And I'm okay with that. She's okay with that. If she's not, that's fine. I'll find someone that will be. And that's just how it went.
Yeah, that's something good that you brought up, and I'm going to come back to that. But I know I've got a bunch of people who want to have a word with you. You mind if I take calls?
No, not at all. I look forward to the calls, man.
Okay. First call I'm going to take is from area code 870. 870, you're live and on the air with Straight Talk. What's your name and where you calling from?
Good evening, Mr. Santos. How's it going?
All right. What's your name and where you calling from?
Oh, this your boy Kenzie Harris out here in good old Arkansas, man. What's up?
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for calling. Do you have a question or a comment for Dennis?
Oh, yes, sir, most definitely. How's it going, Mr. Dennis? How's it going this evening?
It's going good, man. I appreciate your call.
Oh, no problem. Much obliged. I would ask you in regards to, you were just saying how the women in another nation may know her role and everybody know their place in their country. Okay, so this my thing. Well, how is somebody like you and a blue pill type of man in America is seen over there in that country? And what I mean by blue pill, I mean the men, who traditionally want to do for their women, spoil their women like, the men who consider lame and all that right here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
How would those men be treated over in a foreign country, if I may ask you that?
Well, I think you kind of mixing apples and oranges in here. I speak Spanish and I understand the culture. And so when I interact with women in, let's say, the Dominican Republic or even Colombia, which is a totally another country but they also speak Spanish,
Right.
I understand my role as a man. Now, yes, a man is supposed to provide and protect, but in exchange for what? So you exchange in exchange for femininity, cooperation, submission, and all the other things that women have traditionally brought to the relationship. And so because of that, it's easy for me to maintain that role because she maintains her role. And as long as I'm doing what I'm doing, she's doing what she's doing. Now, look, don't get me wrong. Not every man in those countries are treated like I would be treated because a lot of those guys, they're still young boys and they get treated accordingly. They get treated like scrubs, as the terminology was back in 1995. And they get treated just like a man who is out here who's not handling his business. So it just depends on the type of man you are. And, but for the most part, I will say this, all of those women in those countries treat all of the men with respect because there's an expectation that those men will protect those women. For instance, I said, if you saw some American harassing some Colombian woman down in Colombia, for the most part, those men will jump in and stop that man because, see, they're Colombian and you're a foreigner. See, she doesn't have to ask them for protection. They automatically know what to do. And those men don't have to demand respect of those women because they know that's their role. Here in the United States, if you meet a woman, she says, respect is earned. You have to earn respect. That's not how it's supposed to go. You give the respect to the people who are protecting you. It's just, I know it's difficult to understand, but you don't have to do something. You don't have to jump through these hoops just to get the respect that a man is supposed to get. And that's, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
Well, I mean, that pretty much sums it up. You don't have to do anything extraordinary to get respect. You don't have to do anything extra for your wife to cook and clean and submit to you. All you got to do is provide the house and the kitchen and the food, and she knows what to do.
Well, even in addition to that, Dennis, is here in the U.S., women will tell you, well, I'll submit and I'll be feminine if you do these things. But down there, they're coming to the table with that and already know. I mean, I live here in Jersey, and I met this Dominican woman in the gym. The first time she came to my house, she saw dishes in the sink and just said, do you have gloves? She said, if you don't have gloves, I won't wash them. But if you have gloves, and this woman is stunning, like just absolutely stunning.
Absolutely gorgeous.
And so I didn't ask anything. She just washed. And
see, a lot of Americans, a lot of American-minded people, they say, "Oh, they're just submitting to you because they want a passport, or they're just being nice to you because they want a passport." Here's a big secret: they don't want to live in the United States. Matter of fact, they are scared to death of the United States. They think you all are crazy. You got this Trump thing going on, all these protests. No one wants to live here. Here's another thing: if you ever go somewhere like Colombia, you won't want to live in the United States anymore because you'll be like, oh my God, whoever would leave this place? It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. You have some people that want to come visit and buy some clothes. They want to go walk down the Hollywood Walk of Fame, maybe go to Disney World and hang out, but they don't want to live here. Most of those women want to stay close to their families. They want to stay close to their mothers. They want to go to their mother's house on Sunday and play with their nieces and nephews and eat food and chill out. That's what they want to do. So don't be so arrogant as Americans to think that everybody wants to live in your country. Yeah, they might want your money, but they don't want to live here. So that said, when they do come here, or when you do have a woman, she's being nice to you because you're a man, period. She's being nice to you because you're a respectable man who knows his role. And that's what they do. Now, if you get out of line with them, you might, get a response, but it's not going to be anywhere as near as what you would get from the typical American woman who gets out of line, because because there are barriers, there's social barriers. The women there check the other women. The women there put you in your place. The men don't even have to get to you. The women there say, you need to control your household, take care of your man, feed him, because I'm doing mine. And if you don't handle yours, your man is going to be roving around in the street. It's a social contract that they have that's still bound and in place. And if you know how to come in and fit in, you'll be fine. You see, if you don't, then you're going to have to figure your way out. But if you want to date a woman from one of these countries, learn the language, understand the culture, understand your role as a man. Don't go down there with your American ways, because all you're going to do is get misled and get your feelings hurt, because they're going to treat you like a gringo. That's what I'm saying.
This really why I brought up that whole roles and gender thing, Mr. Spurling, because we got a big #1 problem in America, and it's this feminism myth. And for whatever God's reason, it seems like this whole American society looking bad on the outside, looking in, Mr. Spurling. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I believe it's in a lot of men's maybe best interest if they, like you said, learn something about their culture and just up and move out. You know what I mean?
I think for the caller's benefit, I think the problem that you're gonna find is that feminism is rampant in every country where they speak English.
Right.
The reason that it hasn't hit those Spanish-speaking countries is because they don't understand what Beyonce is saying. They don't understand what they're saying on these shows like American Housewives or whatever, Atlanta Housewives. They don't get it. They don't get the music. And they're not going to sit up there and try and figure out what these people and the nuances of what they're saying. So they haven't been programmed with the feminism. They still listen to their cultural stuff. Yeah, it's beginning to spread, but it's much, much slower, because the language that they use to spread feminism or spread these ideas, which have failed, is English. And so if you go to London, Australia, if you go to Jamaica, if you go anywhere where they have these English speaking countries that watch our TV shows and our movies, you're gonna have that same problem.
So we have a woman in the chat saying that Latino men do not expect their women to go 50-50. They understand their role. Black men in America fell too far down the rabbit hole into feminism. Any black man screaming 50-50 is going to get what he, I guess that's it. That's all she has. So,
I mean, yeah, for the most part, she's right. As a man, you're going to have to pay all the bills. And I don't have a problem paying all the bills. As a matter of fact, I've been paying all the bills and other people's bills, but I haven't been getting a return. So with that Latina sister, I don't know where she's from exactly, but the bottom line is that's the social contract. You're the man, you pay the bills. But here's the thing. When I come home, I'm going to sit down on the couch. When I'm ready to eat breakfast, my breakfast is going to be brought to me. When I'm ready to go to work, I'm out. When I come home, the house is clean, the kids are taken care of. I have minimal home housework to deal with. You better not ever. And here's the thing. The crazy thing is, man, when I was dating Dominican, I was not allowed to come in the kitchen. I was not even, you can't come in the kitchen, don't wash a dish. It makes her feel bad and look bad if I'm doing any sort of domestic work. And it took me, even sitting down and not allowing her to serve me my meals was considered an affront to her. And can you imagine coming from the United States where I'm expected to, put 50-50, I'm expected to pay the bills, and I got to be thanking and pray, thank you so much for this meal. You're a wonderful woman. Oh my God, this is, now I'm in a situation down in the Dominican Republic. If I want a full meal at 11 o'clock at night, it's going to happen. She's going to get up out the bed and make it happen. And so, what I'm saying is men don't mind making that sacrifice if what they're getting in return is a real woman that does what real women do. So yeah, 50-50 is unnecessary. I don't even need to pay. Baby, I will be more than happy to pay 100% of everything. Hell, we even give your mama some money. You see what I'm saying? Because that's also something that you have to weigh in. Latino families, it's a big family. They take care of each other. They take care of extended families. That's how that works, and that's how they keep that unit going. But that's something else you have to get used to. It's not just parents taking care of it's not just parents it's kids taking care of parents also, and Buela and everybody might live in the same house, but it works out if you can deal with that.
You're almost marrying the family instead of just the woman.
Right, you are.
We are.
Yeah. And in the Dominican Republic, I learned that. And so that's why I've always been open to that. And typically the families have always, they're like, oh my God, we got this man. He's a lawyer. He's got money. He's taking care of you. He's giving you money. Oh my God, let's treat him like a king. You see what I mean? Oh my God, we love, this is what we need. You see what I'm saying? He
Right.
speaks Spanish. He doesn't talk bad about our culture. Yes. I mean, man, when I was in the DR, man, one of the lawyers that I met there, a female lawyer, Dominican lawyer, she said, there's so many women in this country that would love to have a man like you up here. I'm like, wow, I didn't know. And that was one of those things that really showed me what my real value was in the real world. Because America is not the real world. America is Disneyland. America is the world. It's your front yard with a big wall up around it. You don't see what the rest of the world is like. The rest of the world is living a normal life. This is an expanded version of Hollywood. This is a big game show. This is a big TV show. And people don't realize that till they begin to travel.
All right, same woman asked, in Latin culture, which comes first, husband or extended family?
Well, the thing is, what I've noticed, and I don't know why she's giving me some pop quizzes. I mean, it's her culture. If she knows, she should know that. But for the most part, my experiences, I've never had any issues. The family typically leaves you alone. If the daughter is being taken care of, they don't bother you. You know, if they want to talk to her, they talk to her. You know, but for the most part, they mind their business. You know.
I want to take another caller. You have some background noise. Area code 310. 310, you're live and on the air with Straight Talk. What's your name and where you calling from?
And she says she's African American, not Latina. So that probably. You know.
Hey, Reg, he didn't hear you. Tell him who's calling.
This is West Coast Reg calling out of LA South Central.
Whoa, whoa, what's up, West Side of Rider?
Thanks for calling, Reg. Thanks for calling.
What's up, bro?
Yeah, I couldn't miss the LA Manual Arts, class at 84. Did you play
Okay.
my man? Did you play for Spence? Or Engelman?
I couldn't hear you, Reg. What'd you say?
Did you play for Engelman or Spence?
I played for Coach Spence and Coach Hollis, man, from 1989 to 91, man. And recently, Coach Hollis passed away. I think it was either this year or last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I played offensive tackle, and that was one of the greatest experiences of my life, man, hanging out with those guys and all my friends. And, you know, I tell people all the time, I'm not from LA. I'm from South Central LA. It's a different place. And my fondest memories were some of those times I spent with all those guys playing football, you know, the hard luck cases, the tough guys. You know, pretty much most of my friends were gangbangers and thugs, but they loved me because I had heart. You know, my best friend, his name was Curtis, and they called him Maniac. He had a Jerry curl, and he was, and you know, he was so black that his nose was light skinned, but the rest of his head was black. When he put that helmet on, woo, boy, he's just scared, but they loved me. You know, I mean, the first day of practice, man, they tried their best to make me quit. And I'm not talking about small men. I'm talking about guys that could bench press 400 pounds at 17 years old. I'm talking about dudes that could run a 4.3 easy. So much talent, so much brilliance. But because they didn't have the opportunities, they didn't excel, man. I mean, imagine practicing with, you know, 11 Lawrence Taylors on the defensive side.
Ooh, wow.
You know, that's what I had to deal with. You know, and you know, they gave me a hard time because I was light skinned, but they realized, no, he's a red ninja. He's not. He's a hard dude. You know, we all had the same issues. You know, nobody ever coddled me, and that's why they still love me to this day, man. I can still pick up right now and call all my homeboys that I went to high school with 30 years ago, and we still cool. You know, because I'm still the same person I always been. You know what I mean? They say, "What's up, baby face, man? What you up to?" Chilling, man. You know, so I love Manual Arts, man. Thanks, Reg, for putting me on to Mr. Santos, man. This is cool, bro.
Well, listen, bro.
Yeah.
We come out of the same area. I'm from the '60s. I'm from Gage and Figueroa and Hoover, and
Okay.
I'm 84. And what changed actually? Because I wanted to, cause I've been listening to the conversation. I've been listening to you. I have a life in the Dominican Republic, South America, even Europe,
Okay.
and everything that you've been saying, I experienced myself. I was just sitting there just listening to you. And I'm going on your YouTube page, and I've seen you snorkeling in cabaret and places like that.
Yeah.
And I was just looking at you. I didn't say very much. Actually, I did say a few things. I don't know if you can remember, because you get quite a few. But at the same thing, what these guys don't seem to understand, just like you said with the women over there in the culture, they got a respect for a man who's handling business.
Right.
I mean, at some point, you do have to worry about, how do they really view you, because they come from a third world country. But just like you said, they're not looking. I asked you, they just messing with you because they just want to get a passport. No, they're not looking for parents.
And bro, I'm gonna tell you, like that whole third world, that's just, they don't know what they're talking about. Look, man, my house in the Dominican Republic was bigger than the one here. And the women down there, they look, let me tell you something, bro. Let me tell you something. The last lady I dated, she drives a Mercedes-Benz right now. She gets her nails done. She looks gorgeous. She has Fendi bags. She has all that. She has a condo down in Santo Domingo. The woman is gorgeous. She done had more work done than most women I know here. And she works out every day. So whatever you see, third world is a way that, unfortunately, third world is a way that the dominant society puts down places where brown and black people live. It's a beautiful country. You know what I mean? It might not be as developed as America and some of these other England and all those sort of places, but I don't even accept that. Like that's like often, and I hate to say it like this, but a lot of African American women use that terminology in order to try to belittle these women. But if you want to see a third world country, go to some of these projects in Alabama. Go to some of these projects in Mississippi. That's third world. It's some third world right here in Houston, Texas, which is a major city in the United States.
Yeah, I understand. Listen, I'm just, because I talk to brothers all the time. Just like you said, once I traveled out of this country, and once I started seeing a little bit more and everything, my whole view changed. I tried to come back and tell them. But, everybody wants to listen. Some people don't want to listen. I'm not trying to sway them. I'm just trying to tell them to explore and see the world and see all that it has to offer them, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, overall, it's going to change your view of life. Mm-hmm. And some are receptive, some are not, and you just have to understand that. But like I said, once you experience that, and once you experience that, it's going to change your view on life or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I experienced it just like you have in several, even in Europe. I mean, I walked around fucking London. I mean, I had women flying from London over to LA to see me and stuff like that. And when they got there, I'm trying to pay for shit, and they slapping my hand away. They're like, "No, I got you." I'm like, "Wait, what kind of shit is this?" Mm-hmm. It's just when you experience stuff like that, you have a different view of life and everything. But it's just introducing us to that, and then you have to understand the social. I mean, as a black man coming out of these urban areas, and I saw your video earlier about the mothers. What socially programmed and going through this thing is very tough for them, and I understand. I understand that, but at the same time, I try to explain to them these things. I'm out here in Atlanta now, doing very well. And me personally, I'm cool. But I just came back from Mexico, as Ted can tell you. And once you start seeing stuff like that, and the funny thing, when I was over there, I was monitoring the women and the culture and whatever. And these guys, they don't have swag. They're not physically opposing. But these women are down with them. They're loyal to them. They're about their children. They're about to build in the future, taking care of everything, and that's very important. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, brother, let me. The funny thing is, I have this sister on my page, man, and I have a couple real cool sisters on my page. Her name is Demetria. This is about maybe 3 or 4 months ago. She said, Dennis, I've been looking at your picture. These sisters, they don't want you. I said, I know. They never did. They never wanted me. I went to all the black colleges and went to black high school. You know, you and I went to Maine. Women weren't knocking down my door to get to me. You see what I mean? I wasn't the tall, dark-skinned brother with the bald head and all that. They wasn't trying to find me. They was not looking for me. But now here's the thing. When I go to places like Colombia, where they have the most beautiful women in the world, when I go to places like, and I'm talking about women who are doctors and lawyers. See, a lot of people think, oh, Colombia, if you ever go to Bogota, you'd be like, this feels like New York without the dirt and the grind. This is just straight sophistication. If you go places like that and then you interact with women who are lawyers and doctors who are just, 0% body fat, picture perfect bodies, hair down their back, and they're treating you with this exuberant amount of respect and appreciation just to be in your presence. He's like, I'm glad they didn't want me. We went to manual arts. You know, I tell people all the time, manual arts was like an all-boys school but when I got there. Girls had on khakis and sweatshirts and jerry curls. I'm like, I didn't want to date one of them anyway. So,
Reg. Hey, hold up, Reg. I've got a number of other people. Let me bring in something. Hold up 1 second. Let me bring in another caller. Area code 609. 609. You're live and on the air with Straight Talk. What's your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, what's up? What's up, Ted? This is Anthony Knox.
Hey, what's going on, Anthony? I see you in the chat too. And hold up, I just got a Cash App from Chris. Chris actually also contacted you about me.
Okay.
He's
Thank you.
checking us out. So
Cool.
Go ahead, Anthony Knox. Go ahead. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I just jumped into the room maybe 15 minutes ago, so I'm kind of late, but the interview is an interview with Dennis about opportunities abroad. So
yeah.
I'm gonna be brief because my wife was originally from Africa. We're separated now, but what I will say is that and I embrace this. She's all about family,
mm-hmm.
and she's very involved with her extended family, her nieces and her sisters, her nieces, nephews, and but the only thing for me dealing with her, there was a bit of a double standard. So when it came to me,
hey, put me on mute, Ted. I'm about to step into the sports bar.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, the only problem I have experienced is that now I have a daughter. My oldest daughter, she's 17. I have 4 children, 3 girls and 1 boy. My oldest girl, she's not mine biologically.
Mm-hmm.
So coming into my marriage, and it's kind of my fault. I met a bit of resistance with my wife, dealing with my oldest daughter because she's not my biological child. But other than that, my wife, she's very family oriented, and what the brother Dennis is talking about is very true about women abroad.
So the whole idea of them taking care and having respect as a sort of a default that they automatically.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But with my situation, she didn't readily accept my oldest daughter because she's not my biological daughter, and I have been, we're separated now, so that situation is null and void. So I don't have to deal with that anymore. But
okay,
that's the only problem I have dealing with her.
You have a question? Do you have a question?
With her was a bit of a double standard.
Do you have a question?
A little bit of my fault. I should have put my foot down in the very beginning.
So you know what? So Dennis, I want to take that what he just said. So you're saying that women offer respect, but still, women around the world are more emotional than men. The way their brains function is different. So I lived abroad, and women still, they're still a woman is a woman, no matter where you go, right? So
Oh yeah, it's different varieties of crazy everywhere. But it's still crazy.
exactly. No matter
And I'm sure women will say, "Well, you men are stupid." I'm like, okay, I'll accept that too. But
right.
it's
So
who we are.
do you think men in Latin America are more likely to put their foot down to keep the social construct in existence? You think they're more likely to do that in Latin America than they are here in the U.S.?
Well, I mean, I don't know the statistics. I don't know, but I know that the culture preaches or has a role for men and a role for women.
Right.
And if either party gets out of that role, then you're going to have men and women putting the men back in place and men and women putting the women back in place in their cultural roles.
Right.
And so that's what I find. I think in the United States, men are asked to play their traditional roles, but they're not receiving the traditional benefits from playing those traditional roles.
Right.
And so basically they're getting a raw deal, and that's where they're saying this contract is broken. We're no longer obligated to fulfill our roles in it.
And you think that's what's happened in the U.S. that
Yeah.
men backing off and saying, "Hey, I've done my part, and I'm getting very little or nothing in return here." Like you were saying, my wife cooked for me, and I've got to you just did me a favor as opposed to this is a relationship.
Yeah, that'd be no different than me saying, well, I paid the bills again.
Right.
Yeah, I paid the electric bill, and she has to drop down on her knees and pray to you like returning Christ himself. And that nobody wants to do that. If everybody plays their role, you're not doing me any favors. You see what I mean? And here's the other thing, as a man who I'm a businessman, so I quantify things. How much value is this that you're actually bringing? I can quantify how much each meal is, how much the cleaning of my house is. I can quantify how much each time we go do the wild monkey dance in the bedroom is. If we want to get down to it.
About that, but keep going.
And so the thing is, if I realize that, the benefits outweighed by the drawbacks, then it's a raw deal, and I'm not interested in signing that contract.
The value proposition doesn't support what I'm paying. Like it's almost like you have a vendor and you're paying them, and what you're getting back for what you're paying doesn't support the price.
Yeah, the product that I'm receiving for my payment is not high quality.
Exactly.
Whereas I can step offshore, I can go overseas and find a high quality product for less money, or and then work with that and have a but I mean, so yeah, women think it's love. No, I'm looking for and here's the thing. I hate to say this, and this is for the ladies that are watching. That man is not as in love with you as you think he is. Okay. He's analyzing this situation to determine what is in his best interest. Does he want to be with you? Are you the type of woman he wants to raise his children? Because see, here's another thing. It's not just about me. It's about, I'm looking at this woman and I'm looking at her track record and I'm looking at this culture that she came from. And I'm looking at everything that's going on around me. And I'm asking myself, is this the woman that I want to raise both my boy children and my girl children? Because we know, anybody who studies social science understands that the culture is passed down from woman to child because she's their first teacher. Exactly. And so do I want my children to be raised by this woman and to be indoctrinated in her culture? And if you make a determination that it is no, then what you have to do is you have to take steps so that your children aren't raised by women of that particular culture that you find unfit.
Absolutely. I've got someone else who wants to join the conversation. You're on mute, SW. Take yourself off mute. SW, all right, there you go. You're off mute.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me fairly well?
I can. Do you have thanks for calling in here, checking in. Do you have a question or a comment for Dennis?
Maybe both. Don't give me the line. I'm just gonna speak. Okay, this is one of my experiences at a previous job. We had a number of foreign women working there. I cannot recall for the life of me they were from, whether it was Dominican Republic or someplace in Africa where it starts with a T. But I do recall one day at work, a lady showed up and she was very beautiful, almost exotic. I mean, that's pretty standard. But she came to me, didn't know me. She said other women had been speaking to her about me. And my thing is my reputation. I'm a respectable person. I'm very honest and down to earth, but I have a certain aura about me. Long story short, she came to me, introduced herself, and she pretty much laid it on the line that she wanted to get married. She'd heard about me, what she expected from me, and what she would do in return. She was cool with me having other women living in the house as long as she was number one. And I
Interesting.
noticed that I've had foreign women do that pretty often, but usually the ones who've been in the United States for a while tend to be not ladylike. They tend to, I'm not going to say have gotten Americanized, but long story short, she was to the point and she didn't make no reservations about what the expectations was. So I had to bet there. Of course, I turned her down because I was married at the time. But I have also noticed other women from the same place she was from, they've been in America in a while, even though they do go back out of the country to visit family from time to time, they tend to be very disrespectful. They tend to be very promiscuous. They have no respect. And it's like the attitude, once they've been in America a while, this seems to change. They, it's like I told Ted a while back, I don't really trust women because of what I've seen, but that doesn't include all. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule. But my issue was, since we're speaking on Dominican women, I do know some who worked at my location who were married in the United States, and they were very promiscuous. Their husbands was very hardworking, took care of all the children. They didn't have to work. They just chose to work, I believe. It's like when they get to this country, even so-called friends I had who had women from other countries who were very in line over the years started to. So my
So what?
question is,
Go
it's
ahead.
like I don't really know how to explain this, but do you feel it's bad to get with a woman who's been in America for a while, even though she's from another country? Because my observations, once they've been here, they tend to change. I guess that's my
Um,
question.
I really don't have an answer to that. I mean, I guess it depends on you and what you're looking for. I don't give relationship advice.
Oh, I
Sorry.
understand. That's why I say I don't know if it was a question or a statement.
I just really don't give relationship advice. I
I
mean,
got you.
yeah,
I
I'm
got you.
just, I've not had any issues, and
But as
I
far as
think that
living in that country, though, you
I had a
okay? I'm just
wonderful
gonna leave it
time
at
living
that.
in.
So
Uh,
here's what I would say. If you're planning to go to their country, that it's like what Dennis was saying, you need to learn the culture, immerse. So there's and part of the culture is built into the language. So you'd want to learn the language, not just a few words in Spanish. You'd want to actually learn to speak the language and then understand the culture. There's a way that Latinos, you will find kind of across the board, there's an affection that's built into the language,
mhm.
uh, and there's maybe more of a coldness in English that you're less likely to find in Spanish speaking countries. So you'd want to learn the language and understand how the expectations women have of men and be able to fill that role.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, I wasn't sure if it was a question or a statement. That's why I didn't really want to give a yes or no. It was just, I guess I was just speaking and just putting it out there. Because my main concern is once they come to the United States, they tend to change. But once again, I know you don't give relationship advice, so I would just give my personal experience, I suppose. But I do
Oh,
thank you, and I'll continue to listen to the show.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Dennis, you just brought up sex, and I wanted to dive into that. No pun intended. Uh, what's the attitude? So you said that women are they come to the table with a level of respect for men. Uh,
Right.
do you think women have aside from a different attitude towards men, do you think they have a different attitude towards sex when you're in DR and Colombia?
Oh, definitely. I think the fact that countries like that are known now, or Hispaniola, Colombia, Venezuela, all these countries were founded by other European countries other than Great Britain.
Right.
Great Britain in their prudential Christian
The
views,
Puritan.
Puritan views, they saw things differently than let's say the Spanish or the Portuguese or even the French. And so sexual attitudes are going to be different in those countries, even considering the fact, or also that we're talking about hot tropical countries near the equator, below the equator, so there's going to be less clothing, there's going to be more of everything. I remember I got off the plane in Brazil, in Rio, for the first time, and I'm like, oh my God, this place smells like, it feels like a hot, sweltering sex pot. And maybe it was all in my imagination, but it's just a hot city, man. It's just different. And so people have different, so don't go down there judging people based on your American views. They do their things the way they do them. You do your things the way you do it here. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. You know, you're always welcome to come on back to the United States, but, you know, don't judge people, you know, because there's a sliding scale as to what is and is not inappropriate there when it comes to sex. Like here, if you tell people, you know, this guy has, you know, a girlfriend and like 4 or 5 other girlfriends, oh my God, he's a horrible man. But down there, you know, in different countries, it's pretty common for men to have a lot of different women that they, you know, interact with on a physical basis. It's just the norm. That's the way they think. He's not shunned.
Right.
It is the norm. It's what they do.
And he takes care of both families. He has his wife, children, and he has a girlfriend and his children, and he takes care of both of them.
And then you got guys who's just messing around, and it's understood. That's part of the culture too. You know, so I don't judge them, just like I don't want. Do you want us judging? Do you want, when we go to, do you want them judging us for having President Donald Trump in the past 4 years and some of the things? How about that? You as a Black American, you go to Australia and they said, you're a crummy piece of crap. You're an American. You vote that Donald Trump was your, hey, look, what do you mean? I didn't have no, why are you judging me for that? Yeah, because you don't understand the racial dynamic in America, and these people voted for me. We didn't want it. We had this system set up. You know, that's the same thing. Don't put they don't know what's going on up here. They don't know there were so many people that fought against that. You don't want them judging you with their lens. Don't go to other people's country judging them with your lens. That's the ultimate arrogance that a lot of Americans travel around the world with, that people don't like. But go ahead. I didn't cut you off.
Let me ask you this real quick, Mr. Spurling.
Yeah.
So, in regards to what you just said, so how does it do if a man get caught messing around with other women down there in those countries? Because that's basically what it all boils down to right here in America. The dudes that out here just sleeping around all willy-nilly, regardless of that woman being married or not. So that's my big question for you right now.
So are you asking me what would happen to a man if he was messing with somebody's wife?
Yes, sir. All that sleeping around is in those countries as opposed to what's going on in America.
Well, you know, I think the same thing that would happen to you people don't change just because the borders change, bro. I mean, you shouldn't be messing around with somebody's wife in the first place. You see what I'm saying there?
You know that's what's going on in America. It's normalized in America. That's really what you know what I'm saying? That's really why I asked you.
Well, no,
they go down there to those countries and sleep around. No, you can't go to them countries and sleep around.
No, but Kendrick, I think like Dennis and I were saying, there's some things, whether it's a man or a woman, that's going to be very common no matter which country you go to.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that happens in other countries too. Maybe not like here, but
I mean, it's happened in the Bible, brother. I mean, it's been around as part of the human condition. This is not something new. I mean, cultural differences are cultural differences, but we're all human beings and we all have the same feelings and emotions. These are not aliens that we're talking about. Okay, just because you get off the plane in Venezuela or Colombia, they're still human beings. They have the same feelings. It's just their cultural attitudes are different. What I'm telling you to do is be open to other people's cultures if you're going to visit their country. Don't go down there saying I'm an American with your T-shirt on, your big T-shirt on, and your cut-off shoes and your Nike Air Jordans, thinking you're going to be the big man. You see what I'm saying? So just go down there, embrace the culture, learn the language, eat the food. It's not, get used to it. All right. Eat it, enjoy it, and embrace other people's culture. The problem that a lot of African Americans have is that we're xenophobic. We've been told that if somebody's grandma didn't make it in Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, or if it's not good old fashioned American food like taco and pizza, we're not supposed to eat it. It's supposed to be bad. You see, we are closed minded. You've been told that traveling overseas is a bad thing. Them foreigners down there gonna get you, or they don't like you down there because you black. And when you get off the plane, you realize that there are more black people in Brazil than there are in the United States, hands down. There are more black people in South America and the Caribbean than there ever was in North America. When you begin to realize that, you begin to really realize that you've been lied to. And that's what I realized when I began to travel. Like, that's what I'm saying before. These are my people. They're as much of my people as you all are. They were kidnapped and brought from overseas, from Africa, and they've been here 400 plus years. And oftentimes the slavery that they had to endure was far worse than the slavery that we had to endure in the United States. These are our people. They're not foreigners. They're not aliens. They're our people. You understand what I'm saying, brother? And so I embrace them as brothers and sisters.
So then let me ask you something. So I want to kind of put together what you just said because we're about to run out of time. This whole idea of embracing the culture, the food, the people, is that the first thing you think people should do if they want to do business in another country, like Colombia or Brazil or the DR?
Yeah, I think you should. I think you should get to know the culture and know the people and know the language so you would know the needs of that country. How can you know what you can do there if you don't know what the needs are or what's available to you? I mean, you need to, you need a lawyer. You need to interact with the lawyer. You need to find yourself a real estate agent, a rental agent. You need to find a location, all of that. But what type of business are you going to do? And what is going to sustain you while you're there? You're not just going to go to work and go back to your apartment or to your house. You're going to interact with the people. Is this a place that you can live? Are these a group of people you can deal with? See, I know myself that I may not do well in an Arab country. I know myself well enough to know that I probably wouldn't want to go to Hunan, China. That just is not me. I'm thinking maybe Japan. Japan might not be a place I want to go to. I haven't been there yet. I'm just kind of speculating. But what I do know is that I've embraced the culture of South America, Central America, and Latin America. I'm an American, North American, so it's pretty easy for me to do because it's right there. It's in my backyard. I get there in 4 or 5 hours, and I can always get back here to the United States if I want to. But yeah, you should embrace the culture. You should embrace the people. Remember, if you're going to do business with folks down here, you're going to be serving them. You're going to be serving the best interests of their country and the best interests of their city and their towns. You're going to be contributing to the tax base. And so you want to integrate yourself into what they're doing. I think that's a good sound way of doing business.
So let me ask you a question. From what you've seen, and I'm asking for really kind of a comparative analysis. And I know that it can run the spectrum in the U.S. But do you find more cooperation amongst men in Hispanic countries when it comes to doing business than what you see here in the U.S.?
Man, I see Hispanic men here in the United States coming together, building all the houses, building the roads,
right,
taking care of it. There was a report that came out a few years back and said Hispanic men are the most happy. They're the happiest men, most satisfied men here in the United States. It's not because they're the wealthiest. It's not because they're the most educated. It's because they have good home lives and their culture is still intact. Their language is still intact. Their religions are still intact. And I told this to some people back in 2013, Beans and Cornbread, the two gentlemen that produced my music. I say Latin culture is going to take over pop culture here in the United States. And lo and behold, Despacito popped up maybe 2 or 3 years ago. How many? You got half a billion views. Now you got Cardi B. You got all these other artists coming up from Puerto Rico. You rarely even hear American. You don't even hear American artists as much as you used to, because the language that they're bringing, the songs that they're bringing are about songs about life. They're about food. They're about living. Whereas what happened with us, we ended up with mumble rap. We fizzled out because our culture is failing. In the United States, Black American culture is toxic at this point. It's failing. Black American men and Black American women, we don't get along. We're embroiled in a war of the sexes to determine who's going to be in control. We're not properly raising and rearing our children. We're not properly educating our boys. We're failing. And so at this point, the walls of Jericho have fallen and we're being invaded by other folks. And there's really nothing we can do about it because we don't want to. And I love my people. I love my mother's side of the family. I was raised by my grandmother, a strong Black, a really strong, not obnoxious, but a Black woman from Mississippi who picked cotton her whole life, who imbued in me her morals, her values, her strength, and which is what I take forward. But as it is right now, man, our culture is dying. And it's not really a whole lot we can do. The trajectory is downward. And so what you're having now, it's going to get to a point, I say in about the next 20 or 30 years, being a Black American is going to be similar to being a Native American. It's just, we'll be there, but not so much present in pop culture. Not if things keep going in the direction that we're headed. So what's happening? You got 30% of Black men who are educated. They're marrying out. And this generation, this Alpha generation and Generation Z, I don't even think they even are looking over. They have no race loyalty at all as far as Black American and Black American. And so, what do we do in a situation like that? And what do you tell them? There are other options. That's all I tell them.
Interesting. So you find I mean, clearly, right? So whether me living in Latin American countries or just seeing it here in the U.S., you see how they work together.
Yes.
They'll rehab a house, and all you did was give them pizza and beer, and they knocked it out.
Right.
And then when it's their turn, you did the same thing for them. Reciprocity. Yeah. So you see it, and you see it with the women, between men and men. So in doing business in those countries, did that make it a little more pleasant for you to do business in those countries when compared to here?
I mean, let me say it like this. When I say do business, I'm going to use my law firm, for example. For many years, I had a multi-ethnic, multi-racial. I mean, I've hired white, Hispanic, men, women, Black. I would have a whole hodgepodge of people working in my office. I've hired people who are of the LGBT community. As long as you can do the job and make money, you work for me. Everybody is the same in my office. Everybody gets the same treatment. And that's how I operate. I believe in equality, irrespective of how I might feel or my religious views. I'm going to make sure you eat. We can talk about whatever we don't agree with later on, but we're going to make sure this job gets done and we can eat. That's the philosophy I have. I believe in bringing people up, giving people who didn't get a shot. I believe in bringing those people in. That said, moving forward to 2018, I hired my first Hispanic office manager. Well, male, because the lady before, she was Hispanic. She was his office manager, but a Hispanic male office manager, a few years older than myself. All the women that work in my office are Latinas. The office runs smoothly. He has total cooperation. There's no back talk to him. He handles everything. No more of those issues that I had before. You see what I'm saying? I don't even have to talk to any of the employees anymore. All I have to do is talk to him, a few 5-6 minute conversation, and he's got it because everybody is cooperating with him. Everybody falls in line. They are more family oriented in my office than it's ever been. And it just happened like that. It was not something that I went out to try to do, but it just happened. And so now I look back at that and say when you got a team like that, where everybody's cooperating and the job is getting done,
right,
that team is going to win. So when I look at who's taking over America, whether you like it or not, Latin in 100 years, the America that you know today is not going to be the America that exists at that time.
It'll be part of Latin America at some point.
Yeah, and that's just how it's going to be, and there's nothing really you can do about it,
Right?
Because their team is operating at a higher rate and more efficiently than everybody else's team. You see what I mean? White folks have their own issues. They are, they got a drug problem going on. They got a divorce issue, a divorce rate, and there's always going to be room for the elite and people with money. But for the most part, the culture and who runs the country is going to be Latin America and because they're winning. You see what I mean? They're winning now. Who's fixing your houses? Who's cutting your grass? Who's taking care of your kids? Who's running all the restaurants? Who's building the buildings? That right there lets you know who has all the skills. The next generation, they're going to be the lawyers, they're going to be the doctors, they're going to be the judges. They're going to run it. It is what it is. I can see it happening. The good thing for me as a man who speaks Spanish, there's a place for me because I can blend right. Because the good thing about Latin culture is it's not homogenous. You got from Afro-Latina to Afro-Latin. You got from dark all the way to bright white. And so there's a place in there if you want to fit in. So I'm cool with it, man. I accept it for what it is. And it's just a culture. It's just like reinstalling a new computer program into a computer. And I think it's more conducive because everybody has a role in that culture, and it's not imploding like we are here in the United States amongst African American folks.
Just quick, are you familiar with Nucor Steel?
I am not familiar with Nucor Steel. No, sir.
They trade on the stock exchange, New York Stock Exchange, and Nucor is known for being disruptive. So you used to have the Bethlehem Steels, the U.S. Steel, all the big, huge steel companies, and they made 6 different grades of steel. And Nucor came in and figured out how they made these like mini smelters, and they could make the cheapest grade of steel and do it 20% less than the big steel makers. So they came in and made the cheap steel. The big steel makers said, you know what, take it. We don't want that. That's our low margin stuff. And they did it. And the CEO said, let's see if we can go up to the next grade of steel. And he did it. Eventually, they made all 6 grades of steel cheaper than everyone else, and they devastated the steel
90
industry.
seconds.
So what I'm saying is the Latino culture, they came in and picked strawberries, and they were the busboys. They're doing the same exact thing, and they're just going upscale, and no one sees it happening.
Yeah. So, I see it happening. So what I'm telling y'all do is learn Spanish, learn Portuguese, and embrace the culture. It's still going to be money to be made for money makers. People still going to need places to live. I would say take your children over to these countries. Don't just you go over there for turn-up trips. You go take your kids, embrace that, make sure you have friends from different cultures. It is what it is, man. There's nothing to run from. This is this is a life cycle. A stronger group of people are always going to come in and take the place of people who are dissected and torn apart. Not that we can't do it as Black Americans, but is that we don't want, we did it, we gave it up. We had it going on up until 1955, and we gave it up. So somebody else's turn to take over, man.
Hey, hold on, Kendrick. He's got to go. So Dennis, if someone wants to get a hold of you and your legal practice, do you want to give that information out?
Oh yeah. If you've been injured in a car accident, because that's primarily what I do, you can reach me at 713-229-0770. You can find me at www.dennisspurling.com. I'm always available to talk about those cases. If you want to look me up on YouTube or Facebook, just Google Dennis Spurling, Facebook, YouTube, Dennis Spurling Unfiltered. You can find me anytime. Love to have you.
And if you're not following him already, subscribe to his channel. So, hey, Dennis, man, thank you for such a brilliant interview, being so open and transparent about yourself personally, and giving people real like boots on the ground insight as to what's happening out there in Latin America, as well as a future to look forward to, and how to, wisely prepare for here and looking at countries abroad.
Man, thank you so much, Ted, for having me, man. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to having you on my forum sometime. I know the guys there would love to. We're rambunctious over there, but they love to have you there. I appreciate you, and I humbly appreciate you having me here. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, man. Take care. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right, bye. Hey, so guys, yeah, great feedback. That was Dennis Spurling. I knew he was going to go in 2 hours, and I know we usually go pretty long. But any afterthoughts about his comments about being in Latin America, culture, about what to expect, and what to expect here in the U.S.? Any thoughts, you guys? And I know, Kendrick, you're still there. So any thoughts about what he said?
With me personally, I got a problem with this whole Mexicana thing that's going on right now, man. And like Mr. Spurling said, in another 20 or 30 years, it's going to be all brown up countries. But this is my thing. So why the hell is all of them doing all this hard work, this Hebrew type of slave labor, but you don't want to pay them that? If they out here doing all this work, that's the problem I got with this whole thing that they talking about. They mad that this country browning up. They ain't got no problem with it browning up.
Yeah, well, sometimes they work for low wages, and then they end up creating a company, and they'll have friends and family, and they'll lay brick, they'll do all kinds of things. So,
but you don't want them here. That's the problem I got. Why the hell is you know what I'm saying? You got them here, they working for you, but you don't want them here. Make that make sense to me, Steve.
Because they're going to take over the country. That's why.
Another thing you gotta realize is that they wouldn't come in here if big corporations and government didn't allow them to come in here. They're coming in here because the corporations put up the money for them to come here.
And they do jobs that no one else wants.
Happening by design.
Who's going to pick strawberries and cabbage?
Cause you know a whole lot of us we don't even know nothing about farming now, Ted. We done got a lot of us done got out of farming. So you know to go ahead and
Kendrick, it's not just about farming. It's the construction industry as well. A lot of I know for instance, when I moved down south, I took up a trade when 2 years after I was in Georgia for about like roughly 9 years. So I had always wanted to be a carpenter, but I never pursued it when I was up here in New Jersey. So when I moved down there, I moved to Georgia in 2001. I was in my early 30s, and I took up carpentry, and I also became a cement mason in the union. I worked in the union, so my union hall was in Atlanta. And what I started to realize is that at the time that I got in, a lot of the jobs that we would get were saturated, not from the union hall, but like we would get jobs with contractors, and most of their guys, if not all, were Mexicans or Latin Americans, because not everybody you see is from Mexico. That's another thing a lot of people don't realize. But like most of the work that we would get, most of the steady work was at power plants, and like some of the flat works. Say like if they were building a Walmart complex, which I worked on a few, maybe one or two, where they were building a Walmart, and we did the flat work. Normally, what would happen is we would do the whole job from the forming, from digging to forming, and then also pouring out the concrete. But with the invitation of foreign workers, with Latino workers, the contractors would let their guys do the forming, which is the most of the job, and they would only call us to do the pouring. So that's that would only be like a few days worth of work. You know what I mean? So we would have to take jobs at power plants. And most of the jobs I took was pouring smokestacks and things of that nature. So what you got to realize, you know, I went on a tangent, but what you have to realize is it's not just the farming. These corporations, you know, that they bring in foreign workers because they know that they don't have to pay them.
Low wage.
That's the problem I got, and that's the problem I got. And now you cracking down on all the legals, but then you steady demonizing the ones that's nationalized right here in the USA. And the ones, like say, the ones that is doing all the work, you don't want to pay them.
No, but Kendrick, you're not understanding. They're doing this very smart. That's why when I was telling Dennis how that company Nucor, they started at the bottom where no one cared about it, and they worked their way up. So what Latinos will do is they'll charge you less for the job, except they're all living. They'll rent an apartment or a house and have a lot of people living in that one place, and they'll split the rent. Black Americans won't do that. A Black American would rather pay that $2,000 or $1,000 rent by themselves, and Latinos will split that 6-7 ways, and so they can charge less because their cost of living is a lot cheaper. Because they know how to cooperate with one another, they can live in a house like that. And then one of them will start a business, and you know, and then another one will start a business, and they'll support one another. One will buy a house, and all those people will help them remodel the house. There's a lot of cooperation going on, so they can afford to charge less, and you don't really see them. You just think there's some cheap, low-wage workers, but they work their butts off, and they know how to cooperate and make life work.
Yeah, but them white folks that demonize them at the same time.
Who cares? Who cares? This is going to be Latin America eventually.
Kendrick is for Black Americans, and I've even at, you know, at times when things were kind of rough, I would suggest to my wife, maybe we should move in with family and save our money. But Black people don't want to do that. You know, everybody wants to show off in front of each other and do everything on their own and struggle. And that's what Ted is talking about. That's why other nationalities get ahead, far ahead of us.
Koreans do it.
They know how to work together.
Koreans, I watch Koreans do that in DC. They started out cleaning a mall, right? You see, it looked like a family was doing it, and then next thing they had a company. They were all living in one place, cleaning a mall. Next thing, they get a contract to clean 10 malls, and then they take that money and buy another business, and they're doing something else, but they started out living together. They do that. They do that with these nail salons. I mean, so what Anthony is saying, whether you demonize them or not, is kind of irrelevant because they're making moves. Hey, Reg, you got too much noise, Reg.
I know. When I was on the lap.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Who cares what their opinion is? They're actually successful, and that's when Dennis first came on. He said, "I'm successful. It's not about excellence or perfect. I'm successful at what I do. I'm going to win." And that's what these other ethnic groups are doing. They're being successful. They're doing what it takes to win, to get the goal, to get the ball across the goal line. So how you judge them is irrelevant because they're being successful.
Correct. And at the same time, ain't no need for everybody, you know what I'm saying, start jumping on all these different and this. I'm with you, Ted. I'm with the success thing. I got that mindset.
Yeah,
But
so
at
it
the
doesn't
same time,
matter.
we still dealing with.
It doesn't matter how people judge them. It's irrelevant. They're winning because they know how to work together.
Yeah, because they have a team mentality, and they have a partner with them, which is their women, who are willing to work with them for the big picture. Unfortunately, your African American woman, she's too busy in competition with the white woman, who she wants to replace because she wants to be next to the white man. Every woman wants to be connected to the big dog. So in this perception, is the white guy with the power in this country and what's out there, and that's a lot. She sees him as the top dog. It's still called female nature, okay? I mean, I listen to the brother, and me and him from the same spot. I tried to talk to him, but he's too busy about himself. So I just left it alone. But I've been in as many places as he has. I'm here to prop myself up and talk about it. A lot of shit that he said was true, okay, because I experienced it myself. But at the same point, when you come to over here, if your woman was not contaminated, if she was down with you, you would be having these problems. Actually, the black man would be on top, and everybody knows that. I don't care whether it's South America, Africa, Western, or Europe, or whatever, we would be on top. Because genetically, physically, spiritually, mentally, we are top out. But when you got somebody who, I'm talking. So when you got your own race of woman who's busy, who's been socially, who is I want to say is when you got an exploitable woman, is your race of woman who everybody knows has low self-esteem or whatever it is, she's the one to use it against you. So other races or other nationalities don't have this problem. I've been to the Dominican Republic, I've been to South America, I've been to Europe, I've been all of these places. So, okay, even those women over there, if they want you, they know who it is. But still and yet, if you ain't got the position or whatever, it's actually, someone really don't even care, because I've had white women tell me they don't give a fuck about him because everything's been given to him. They got more respect for you who got it or whatever. So, but your own race of woman won't say that. Okay, so that's the problem. I'm from Los Angeles, just like this guy is from South, same high school, a couple of years different, whatever. So when you have a woman who's willing to work with you to build for the big picture and not caught up in superficial shit, you can get somewhere because she's with you, because she understands it's not about her, it ain't about you, it's about the race and the culture. We don't have no culture. There is no black culture. There is no black culture. It's been destroyed. It's been undermined. That's what you got to need to understand. So, I mean, Brazil, Colombia, those are black folks. I mean, you have a lot of your European inflection with it, but those people are black. Those people are from African descendants. I had people who told me that they were black. So this is the problem that you have. The problem is that while you're trying to build or trying to get across the ocean, you got somebody sticking holes in the fucking boat. It's your bitch. That's who it is. Point three.
I also want to elaborate on another dynamic. And this may have happened to some of those.
Hey, Tim, put me on mute. I'm going back in the bar.
Okay. Okay. And Letitia, you're on mute, so I don't know if that's on purpose. But go ahead, Anthony.
Oh, my bad. I didn't realize I was on mute. I was just waiting for my chance to talk. I don't know how well my connection is because it seems Like the connection is not that great. So if it is, just let me know. But
You're perfect.
okay, thank you. But the one thing that it was a great interview, but the one thing that I took away from that and that it seems to me is that it seems like black men are starting to just walk away from black culture altogether and embrace other cultures, and mainly seems Latin culture. So it seems like even though I'm Generation X and I was born on the latter end of Generation X, um, it seems that there is a repeat of history where black men are not willing to step up and take their place. They're just willing to say forget it and just walk away altogether. How does that really benefit us as a community? What does that look like for us as a community and our culture? That it's going to become non-existent because black men continue to lead instead of fighting. I mean, they continue to leave instead of fighting.
Yeah.
If I may,
I think that's false.
but if I may add, go ahead, Mr. Andy.
Now you can go ahead. I'll go ahead after you.
What I was gonna say, Mr. Andy, if you look at from the aspect of what she just said, a whole lot of simps and a whole lot of thirsty dudes out here, they don't want that. But then you want the top 10 or the top 5% of the men. So what you gonna do with all the men want the other 89% of them once they decide they're gonna up and just walk away? What you gonna do when all those dudes wake up, Anthony? You know what I'm saying? What them dudes gonna do? If them dudes gonna stay on the plantation, or all those dudes gonna go outside the plantation?
They're gonna do both. They're gonna stay on the plantation, and they're gonna, some of them are gonna perish. It's like we said
what I mean?
Shows ago.
Because some of them gonna leave.
It's not, this is not for everybody. Because there's a lot of us that want to lead, and we what we do is we do want to live. We do live our culture, but a lot of our sisters don't want that either. So that's, and I've said this on a couple of shows. A lot of our sisters don't want what real black culture looks like. They don't want the responsibility of it. They want to live in white society.
Okay, so then choose the sisters who do and grow from there. Black men are acting as if there are no black women who they cannot grow with, who lack cooperation. But the truth of the matter is, it's not that there aren't any black women, it's just there aren't any black women that they desire. But if your true intention is to,
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's it may be that, but it's also we haven't met the person that matches us. You know what I mean? So it takes time to meet the right person for you.
I disagree. And it doesn't take that much time. Black men have been discounting and looking past certain women for decades. Those women are out there. They're just not what you desire.
What? No, you mean that they don't find them attractive. They don't find them attractive. And every... Well, hold up, Anthony. Hold up. That if women understand part of what a man is looking for is attraction, about 80% of black women are overweight. So whether you call a quality man or high value, whatever, that means about 80% of black women disqualified themselves by being overweight.
But I'm not talking about weight. I'm talking about face, because a person can't really help their face.
I listen, but if they're overweight, they've already been eliminated. They eliminated themselves. That's 80% overweight.
Okay, but I'm not talking about overweight. It's just
Let me finish. And then if he looks at the woman's face and doesn't find it attractive, I mean, she's not even going to get to present what she has, unless women are willing to completely change things and say, hey, look, I'm interested in you. I think I'm a great woman and I like to get to know you. But women are not doing that. They're sitting there on the sidelines and men are saying, well, look at, there's a more attractive woman in the Dominican Republic or Brazil. And they're correct.
Okay. You just completely disregarded what I said and you focused on weight when I wasn't talking about weight. I'm talking about face, and
I just addressed that.
Face. I'm just talking about simply just about face. And there are women who have the qualities and the attributes that men desire. However, their face is not the same. Let's look at what's going on with a certain YouTube influencer whose video has gone viral. And this woman doesn't have a real disagreeable personality. We really don't know too much about her, but I hear too many men commenting on her face. And so it seems to me, is it about Black men wanting Black women who are cooperative and who they can build with? Well, guess what? Sometimes you're not going to get that in the best package. I'm not saying settle, but you have to figure out what it is you want. You understand that modern women are not coming with the qualities that you desire. Okay, so if those are the qualities you desire, then choose from the women who do have those qualities. No, you don't want those women because they don't have the package that you want. So I think so then instead you choose to jump ship because the women you want don't fit what you want, and you choose to jump ship, and now the whole Black community is going to burn to the ground because Black men can't get everything that they want while Black women have to settle for what's available to them.
No, Black women choose otherwise out the gate. So the guys who do want to marry, they're overlooking them.
Black women don't settle.
Black women do settle. Black women settle all the time, and that is why they end up in the situations that they're in now.
So here we are as men.
Twisted their arms. They did settle.
Okay, but you said Black women don't settle, and I'm just saying yes, Black women do settle, and now you're saying, well, no one twisted their arm.
Okay,
so they settle or they don't settle.
I'm gonna say,
and a lot of women, when they get up in age, they try that they pull that biological clock trick.
Okay, we all understand that, but again, I'm not even talking about those women. I'm talking about the women who have the qualities that you all say that you desire. Those women don't necessarily come in a 6 to 10 in the face. So are you going to disregard those women who are feminine, submissive, and cooperative? You're going to disregard those women because they're ugly, essentially.
No, most of them are not feminine, though.
But I'm talking about the ones who are.
No, you all don't know what. Listen,
okay.
Kendrick, slow down. To what you all call feminine is not feminine, and when men go abroad, they see feminine.
Okay, Ted. I mean, that sounds all great to try to invalidate, but we all know that
Listen.
We all know that there are some women in this country who actually are very feminine, are very cooperative. We see men who are married to those exact women, and they're not all 8s, 9s, and 10s. So what I'm asking Black men is it truly that you want a woman who is feminine and cooperative, or is it that you really want a dime piece on your arm? Because that's what it seems. That's what it seems like to me.
Men don't want to be with a woman who's unattractive. Men don't want to be with a woman they find. Men don't want to be with a woman they find unattractive. There's no way around that. And I understand women may be more comfortable with a guy who's unattractive. If women don't listen to what men are saying they want, then women will be dismissed.
then just say that. Don't sit here and say that there are no women, there are no good women in within the Black community, or Black women. Just say, look, I can't find the Black woman that I want, because the Black woman that I want does not come in the package that I want.
No,
Good quality, the good quality woman that I want needs to have a nice body and nice face, and I can't.
No, listen. What you all call feminine here in the U.S. is not feminine somewhere else, and that's what men are finding. No,
you're in the U.S. and we're dating within the U.S.
I let you speak. I let you speak. When men go abroad and they see femininity, they don't want to come back to the women here, because that's the only. If you've only eaten hot dogs all your life, you'll have no idea what chicken and steak is. And men have only had hot dogs here. They go abroad and they see filet mignon, and there's no reason to come back to a hot dog.
But majority of Black men have not traveled abroad.
It doesn't matter. They see women from other cultures here. They see it here.
Women from other once those women get here, we all know that they start ascribing to feminism.
No,
no, they're feminine in what way? Because here it is. I'm here in Florida, where there is a high population of Latinas, and while these Latinas still believe in gender roles, they still have taken on feminism. So unless they're fresh off the boat, but once they get here and start living here for a while, they start to embrace feminism as a culture. And I see that on a daily basis, even in these Latino relationships and in these Latino businesses, where women are more asserting themselves and operating just like any other American woman. You have a conversation with them, and yes, they're quick to tell you, oh, I'm independent. I got a job. I don't need any man to take care of me. I can take care of myself. And you're like, whoa, wait, where did this come from? Because I've gotten the impression by speaking to Black men that only Black women act this way.
And then when they go to your house, they actually just do work they support you. They wash dishes. You don't even have to ask them. They just do it.
But that's part of their culture. But that doesn't mean that does not mean that they have not embraced feminism within their personal relationships with one another.
Well, apparently, if they're washing dishes, they haven't fully embraced it.
Washing dishes, a woman who is a feminist wash dishes.
No. What I'm saying is there are two things. One is you don't have to ask them. They already know their role as a woman. They don't tell you I don't have a role. The second is their attitude towards sex is not that they're doing you a favor. And that makes a big difference.
The biggest part about feminism that separates that allows you to recognize a feminist is a woman who deems herself as not needing to depend on a man, and she can take care of herself. Every woman who has lived in America for a significant time is eventually going to take on that mindset.
And Latinas will tell you straight up, I want a man. They will tell you that.
They will tell you they want a man, but they will also tell you they're independent.
They will tell you that. And a Black woman will tell you, I don't need a man. A Latina will tell you, I want a man.
Okay, but still.
That's the attitude. That's the attitude Black don't want. That's what you're not getting.
I get it. I'm just sitting here and I'm listening to this and I'm frustrated because here it is again, Black men tucking their tails. And instead of standing up and leading, they want to run. Again, this is the same thing that happened before I was born. And now Black women are being blamed for something that they were born into. And we had no leadership. Black men just sucked their tails at some point, and they were just going to go along to get along to get.
Then take my leadership right now.
And then they're doing it.
Take my leadership right now. We're telling you the attitudes suck and no one's interested. And if you don't know when to stop talking and listen, then you are not allowing yourself to be led.
It's mostly women that are participating in this. You know, most of us black men, we're not participating in this dynamic. It's mostly the women.
And I add on to that, and half of what was said in that Kevin Simmons interview was the lady had a delusional mindset of entitlement. That's what I took from that video.
Oh,
and I don't think she was catching on what he was saying.
I a little earlier, I wanted to elaborate on a dynamic that I've experienced, and I asked a friend of mine if he's ever experienced, because I didn't think that I've ever experienced. I thought that I was the only one that was seeing this. Now,
okay.
Previously, like with my wife.
Am I there? Can you hear me, Ted?
I've never experienced
I can.
Somebody else.
Okay, cool.
I say if I do something for my wife, you know, because we're married, and there's certain things that you're just supposed to do. So say if I buy my wife something, bring her home something to eat, or buy her a piece of cake or a piece of tiramisu cake or something, and bring it home to her, and not to say that she won't say thank you, but just say that she doesn't say thank you. Say that she just takes the cake and enjoys it. Me as a man, certain things, if I do for my woman or my wife, if you don't say thank you, it's not a big deal. I just want to see you smile. I just want to see you enjoy what it is I just did for you. But if you flip the coin and say your woman or your wife does something for you, if you don't say thank you, she'll get upset. And I've experienced this. I want to ask anybody, have you, any of the men, have you ever experienced this before?
Well, so that's kind of what I think we were saying earlier. It's like a lot of women think anything they do for you is they're doing you a favor, and you should be lucky that they're there to have it, from cooking to sex to talking to you, giving you their phone number, even when you first meet them, that she's doing you a favor. And that's the attitude that a lot of men are getting, and they don't want to be with a woman who's doing them a favor. Even when we talk about sex, women are like they dig their heels in and say, well, when we have sex with a man, we're doing you a favor. And then they say, well, because most of them don't know how to climax, but when we go into Latin America, these women have the same bodies, and they have a healthier attitude, and they can climax, and they have sex with you because they enjoy it. And that's a different world.
You're choosing these women. Why are you choosing such women? Are you not figuring this out before you get so deep into the relationship?
Letitia, you said 90% of women don't climax. That means that 90% are not even qualified then.
I'm sorry, I'm not really talking about your comment. I'm speaking on what Anthony said. I should have qualified.
No, but see, the point is, I said that because that's across the board. It's happening in everything.
Okay, but I'm not speaking about sex. I'm speaking about women who have such bad quality, such bad behavior, such bad attitudes.
Why did you choose her?
Are you not?
Right. Why did you choose her if you knew this already? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Well, with me, Letitia, with me, what happened was we had known each other for 2 years. We never lived together. And we got married. I mentioned moving in together just so we can get to know each other. And she didn't want to. So after 2 years of dating, we moved in, and that was the first time we lived together. And after that, that's when we really start to get to really know each other. So what I'm finding is it takes more than 2 years to get to know a person. And you should live with each other at least a year. At least a year. So, but that's what happened. That's how that happened. So we didn't really know each other.
But it really doesn't take 2 years. It really doesn't. It takes having conversations, and it takes having the correct conversations. But
Can you hear me, Ted?
that
Yeah.
You mind if I jump in?
do that.
And I came into it a little green, but nonetheless, I didn't know who she was.
Okay, so would you say that
That's what happened.
you have to take responsibility and accountability for the fact that you chose a woman that you really knew nothing about?
You mind if I jump in here, Ted?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So Anthony said that you have to live with a woman for a couple of years and get to know her. That's not true. When I was in the Navy, I had a Mexican roommate. We got back from deployment, and he went on Christmas leave. In 2 weeks, he went home, and he came back. And when he came back, there was a girl with him. I said, "Who's this chick that you just brought into our apartment?" He's like, "Oh, that's my wife." So within 2 weeks, he met this girl and married her, and it's simply because she knew she wanted to be a wife. Now, was it rocky at first? Yeah, it was rocky. They had their arguments, this and that. But here we are now, 20 plus years later, and they're still married. They've got 3 kids, and they're happy. The thing is with them, with Latino women, they understand they need men and they want their men. Black women are in competition with black men, and that's why they will always fail. Now, what Letitia's saying is completely disingenuous. There's no black man out here where his criteria in looking for a black woman is she has to be a dime. No, we have 2 simple requests. Number 1, keep yourself in shape. This the same level of attractiveness that we had when we first found you. We want you to try to keep that. You can be an in shape 5 and get a husband, but don't be an in shape 5 and then after we get married, 2 years down the road, now you're 240 pounds and you're a 5. No. We don't want that. You're 240 pounds, a 5, and you have a shitty attitude. And that's what black women refuse. It's amazing how they'll put on. Hold on, Anthony. It's amazing how they'll put on weave to change their appearance. They'll put on fake eyelashes to change their appearance. They'll put on makeup. They'll get butt implants. They'll get breast implants. They'll get tummy tucks. They'll do everything but one simple thing that costs them 0 money. Change your fucking attitude. They refuse to do that.
A lot, that's an investment in self, Chris, because if they come out of environments. If you heard Dennis in the beginning, that was one of the things, like conflict resolution, being able to communicate. The amount of money women invest in their looks, if they would invest that in their own personal development, they'd be a lot more attractive.
Right, but they won't invest in their personal development, and then they'll blame black men for it. How does that make any sense? It's my fault that you won't change your shitty attitude? No, even Letitia, listen to her right now. She refuses to listen to anything any of these men on the panel are saying. She just wants to argue simply because she can't get rid of that shitty attitude that is embedded in her. And that's fine. Keep your shitty attitude. We're just going to walk away from you.
Frankly, I don't care. If black men choose to walk away.
Good. Then shut up. Then shut up.
Don't
you
tell
don't care.
me
Then shut up.
Don't tell me to shut up. You shut up. You shut up. Don't tell me to shut up. I'm not being disrespectful towards you, so there's no need for you to be disrespectful towards me. But all I'm saying is, if you do not, black men do not have to deal with such women. You don't. But you guys are sitting here acting like that's all that's available to you. I know, and I understand that it's a lot of women out here, and it seems like it's a needle in a haystack, but it really isn't. There are women out here who fit the criteria. You have to find those women.
Here's another problem.
To attract such women.
Here's another problem. There are a lot of women who believe they fit the criteria and they don't. And that's the biggest problem.
Okay, but let's focus on the ones who do.
Those numbers are so small. They're overweight. No, we don't want overweight women. and they don't. And the numbers, you start getting down to such small numbers that you can't have the 51% of the men who don't have children go after this 2% of women who fit the criteria. What are the other 48% going to do? 49%? They're going abroad.
Yeah, so
Oh.
I usually
Hey, SW, thank you for the support and the super chat. Thank you for the support. Always love having you here. See, Letitia, what you all call feminine is not. That it's been lost in the US. The numbers are so small. There are a lot of women who think they're feminine because they wear a dress, they wear makeup, that's what they think feminine is. Feminine is a way of being. It's a way you can see. As men, we see a feminine woman walking down the street far away. We don't even have to know if she's attractive or not. We can see it by the way she walks. And then she can be wearing pants. She can be wearing sweatpants or a damn potato sack. We know when a woman is feminine. I put up in the group Straight Talk a Brazilian woman who was dancing, and a lot of women didn't even realize that I put it up because of her femininity. Everyone just said, "Oh, she's just dancing," but they could not see the way she moved her hands and her arms and her whole body. She was extraordinarily feminine. And you don't see that kind of motion from women here.
oh yes.
Feminine is the opposite of masculine.
I don't care what it's the opposite. We know it when we see it.
I'm not saying you don't know it when you see it, but you're saying that there are women who claim to be feminine and don't know what feminine is.
That's correct. For decades, we've listened to Black women say, "Why do I have to be feminine? And what's feminine? And you can't impose that." We've been listening to women argue with us about why they don't have to do that.
Okay, and I understand that. But to say that there are women who, now you're saying women are arguing against being feminine, when previously you said women are saying they're feminine, but they really don't know what femininity is.
This is the new one. So a decade or two ago or three, they were saying they don't have to be feminine. Now they see that men are demanding it, so they're saying, "Hey, I'm feminine." And it's like you can't spend the first 20 years of your life not being feminine and then put on a dress and think that now you're feminine. It doesn't work that way.
Okay, that's what you would call a pick me, but to say that I and other women do not know and understand what femininity is disingenuous, because I don't think you ever asked me what exactly is femininity on your program.
No.
So say that something that I've said is disingenuous.
Nobody didn't know what femininity was.
Right. We're not saying that women don't know what it is. We're saying they're not being that.
No,
there's a difference between intellectually understanding femininity. That there's a whole nother world when you're being that. And that's why I put that Brazilian woman up, because she was being it. She didn't say a word. She danced. It was only a few seconds, and men could see that femininity. Now there are men who haven't been exposed to it, so they couldn't even recognize it.
Let me say this. Tommy Sotomayor said it best. Tommy Sotomayor says it best. They're men with vaginas. That's what they have become. And it's true. When you go overseas, you see the women, they just carry themselves in a softer manner. You can see it. You don't have to have a conversation with them. You don't have to talk to them to tell that they're just feminine. And Black women don't have that. They don't have it. They think having a vagina means they're feminine. And it's so not the case.
Wearing a dress and makeup. What's her name? One of those women. YouTube has a big following. She only talks about, well, I'm feminine because I have a weave and I wear makeup and I have a dress. That's not feminine.
Right. That's a costume. You're
Yes,
putting on a costume and you're trying to tell me that I should look at that costume and view it as you being something else. Now, eventually, you're going to lay down at night and that costume is going to have to come off. And that's when we see the real you. And we know we've been with enough of you to know what you are up under that costume. And what you are up under that costume is a shitty person. And no one wants to be with a shitty person. And that's why the vast majority of you are going to die alone.
and you know what, Chris? That C Boogie promoting this stuff. If you notice, he like that dysfunction.
Who? What was that? What did you say, Kendrick?
That C Boogie character. If you notice, he's chasing a lot of dysfunction, talking about him getting his mask off and all that.
I don't know who C Boogie is, so I don't.
And neither do I. We don't know who that is.
Yeah. So.
But he's always talking about pulling the mask off.
Yeah. Either way it goes, I'm sorry. Yeah, just face it. You're shitty people, and it's not something that you can't change. You can change, and it's not going to cost you a dime. It's not going to cost you. It doesn't. As a matter of fact, Ted, black women take solace. They take enjoyment in rejecting black men. If you take, I've seen when I was overseas, when I was in the Navy, we go overseas. You know, I see guys walk up to foreign women, be them Italian, Spaniards, Greek, and these women, you know, they reject them, but they would do it in such a nice fashion where that guy still had his self-esteem. But if you ever notice, when you approach a black woman and she, number one, she's going to reject you. You know, she's going to reject anybody who isn't a thug or whatever. You know, and when she does it in the most demeaning. She does it to tear him down. She does it in the most demeaning fashion. I'm surprised more black men haven't killed black women.
Actually, I hate to say this, but Chris, the when you look at women who are physically abused and killed, black women lead that over other women in the U.S. I hate to say it, but that
no, they do. You're absolutely right. They do. I'm just surprised it doesn't happen more. Is what I'm saying.
Okay. Hey, hold on. So Dennis Spurling is still in the house. Hey, thanks a lot, Dennis, man, for the support on the super chat. Big thank you. If you guys are not following Dennis, go over there right now and click the bell and subscribe to his channel. Follow him. He's got a lot of good content. You guys are going to hear a lot more stuff about the things that he's doing overseas. And as he said, he's a huge advocate for men, for black men. So, you know, support him. And this is one of the things that Dennis was talking about is how the Latino culture cooperates. So if you're over here, click the like, give me some love from likes over here, but I need you to go over to Dennis and like his channel, subscribe to it. And we need to have cooperation between the way we are working together. Dennis came over here and listen, he's an attorney and you guys know attorneys are expensive. It's difficult to get their time. And I also have to give a huge acknowledgement to Chris who's here because Chris made that happen. And Reggie and Chris both interacted with it. So Chris, big thank you for that. And that's an example of the cooperation that Dennis was talking about that has to happen a lot more with men. And so, and I'm going to say something else, but Dennis, big thank you for that super chat. And I want guys to support you in the same way that you came over to support me. And I look forward to supporting you also. So, yep, we got some subscribes over here. Good. Great. Thanks, Mr. Really Dope, for subscribing to him. Yep. If you guys haven't subscribed to Dennis Spurling, go over there. Dennis Spurling Unfiltered.
If there's one thing in my life that I could go back in time and change, it would be all the time and effort I spent chasing black women. Because those were women who, as well as I was doing, I've never dated a black woman who I didn't make more money than her. but somehow she still undervalued me, talked to me like shit, treated me like shit, and I still did all these things to volley for her love when it wasn't there. Not because she didn't love me, it's because they don't love themselves. That's why they put all that weave and all that shit in, because they hate themselves and they project it onto black men. And whereas when you get with a foreign woman, she wants you to strive to be, first of all, she loves you for you, right? She loves you for you, and she wants you to strive to be the best part of you, the best version of you that you can be. So she's going to push you to maybe start your business, to maybe further your education, because she understands that she wants her kids to have a better chance in life than she did. They're not as narcissistic as black women are. Black women only care about themselves. That's why they move into these dangerous neighborhoods and they keep reproducing, knowing that there's a chance that their children could grow up and join a gang and possibly die. They don't give a shit about anybody but themselves. To all you black men in your 20s, I hate to say it, but you may be raised wrong by your mama. Abandon black women now. Don't make the same mistakes that me and Anthony and some of these other black men make. Get you a passport, go abroad. And when you go abroad, don't go abroad just to have sex. Go abroad to seek a wife, to seek a moral wife, a moral feminine wife who values you. You're not going to find that in black American women. I promise you.
They're also going to have to first learn the culture. They're going to have to learn some things. You can't go over there and say, well, I'm from the US and I'm smarter and and look down on them. You're going to have a difficult time. They'll exploit you if you go over there.
Yes. When you go over there, learn the language, learn the culture, and don't try to take any of this American bullshit over there. When you go over there, introduce yourself to the father and fellowship with the men in the family. And once you do that, I promise you'll have a different outlook on life and marriage and everything.
There is no question of fellowship with the men. But now wait a second. I do want to say something where I'm going to where Letitia has a point. So the one thing, if you look at Hispanic men, whether it's in their country or in the US, they are not afraid to put their foot on their women's necks, and black men have stopped doing that. And that is how the train got off the rails, because black men didn't let that happen. And I didn't, I had a big conversation with Dennis. But one of the things that concerned me is that the way black men almost worship black women or worship women in general, my concern is they're going to go to other countries and treat women the same way and eventually encourage those women to be entitled. And black men can find themselves in the same situation. That's why Dennis was making such a big deal that you need to understand the culture and how to function as a man in that culture. Because if you go to another country and you're functioning just as a man and you don't even realize that a lot of guys in the US have actually embraced feminism without realizing it, and you go over there and you're going to start pushing feminism, the women will take advantage of you. And they'll exploit you, and they'll have less care, and they'll feel like they're doing you a favor. So black men here in the US, if you're not getting a passport and you're not going abroad, you're going to have to develop a very masculine mindset that says to a woman, here are the boundaries. I mean, you guys have heard me kind of joke about, being the caveman, me man, you woman. And women have always said to me, or you're just like that machismo, and they've criticized me, except I never back down. If they don't like it, they can walk away. And when they don't walk away, it's because they are accepting my masculinity. They're accepting my manhood. I think too many guys have stopped doing that in the US because you've been told to find your feminine side. You've been told to treat women equal. And then when you have a daughter, it's almost paralyzing for a lot of guys because it puts you in a tough place. The guys are not teaching their girls how to find a husband, how to be a good wife. They're teaching their girls to be feminists. So by default, a lot of men are being feminist without realizing it, and women are just exploiting that in the US. And you know what? They'll do the same thing to you in another country, especially if you want to go to Europe and go to Russia. Those Russian women, women can be emotional, but I've heard stories about Russian women. If you're planning to go to Europe, but Latin American women, and if you go to DR women in the Dominican Republic are more like Black women than any other Latin country. So you need to be firm about your own masculinity and manhood and the boundaries you put on a woman.
Yeah, what I was going to say, some of them foreign women, if you don't put your foot down, they'll treat you worse. They'll treat you even worse. So you got to put your foot down, man.
Part of it is you need to be able to do that here. You need to be able to tell women no. You need to be able to tell them these are the boundaries. This is the way you talk to me. I got it. They may have attitudes, but here's what I've seen. When a woman when she thinks that she understands masculinity and she runs into the brick wall called masculinity and sees that she cannot run it over, somehow she starts acting like a girl. Somehow it works that way. And I think Black men are doing that less than other men, less than Asian, less than Hispanics, even less than white guys. And you can tell me white guys are going to other countries and giving women money in the Dominican Republic. But you know what? Those white guys will often still see that woman as less than him and not be pussy worshiping.
Well, that's what the Pookers and the Ray Ray doing, T.
No,
they still out here blowing their backs.
No, those guys they're probably being masculine to them. That's why women are going to them.
No, what I'm telling you, that man ain't putting his fist in her mouth. That ain't masculine.
No, I'm saying they will put boundaries on her. That's part of why women will go to those guys, because they are looking for a masculine kind of cavemanish.
Can you hear me, Ted?
I can.
Okay. What I want to say is the funny thing about this is, if Black women are complaining that Black men are the problem, right? Well, they are the least picked demographic of all the women in this country,
Correct.
And when it comes to male, Asian men are the least picked, right? So there was a concerted effort to try to get the two that are least picked together, to try to get them together, and even Asian men do not want Black women. So Black women are the problem, and Asian men who aren't getting any sex or aren't getting chosen by any other women, why aren't they picking Black women? If it's just Black men being a problem for Black women, why aren't Asian men who aren't getting sex from anybody? They would rather have sex robots and play video games than to fuck Black women.
And that Black women have said it. They have a global reputation. And let me say that women around the world, whether they see it through movies or videos, they understand how Black women treat Black men. And when you go abroad, they will think they can do the same thing with you, because they'll think that you're already accustomed to that. So you need to be prepared to nip that in the bud like immediately.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, I told you the stories when I was in the Navy and we'd go overseas, Spain, Italy, France, whatever, wherever we went. The Black men would get off the boat and damn near have their pick of women, right? Black men had no problem getting women, but when it came to Black women going out and picking those foreign men, they could not. So basically what the Black women had to do was sit back and wait until we had all our fun with the foreign women, and then we realized, okay, well, we better go throw Keisha a bone, otherwise when this ship gets back underway, this bitch is going to be miserable for the next 30 days.
Right. They have a reputation, and I don't know if they want to address that. And it's if it's 10% who don't have that reputation, 90% is what's being seen. It's seen in the movies, TV, books that Black women write. The world sees it.
Hey Chris, I'm picking up bad, man, that we being portrayed like all us thugs and bombs, man, from the world view. Is that the case, man? Because I hope that's not the case. Somebody told me that one time.
Repeat that, Kendrick.
I was saying to Chris, like, it seemed like somebody told me, it seemed like the Black men being portrayed in America like we all thugs and killers and all that kind of stuff. To the eastern countries, Ted. And I was, since you've been overseas, Chris, I was gonna see if anybody else hadn't had those type of issues as the outlook on the Black man in the Western countries.
Yes, Black men have a reputation in the media. That's not good. That is correct.
I'm talking about you know
in the world,
Kendrick,
in the whole world. Yes, the media and black people in general need to get a grip on the image that they portray to the world.
But see, that's the thing. But I like how you worded it.
And that could get in the way with a woman in another country being open to a Black man, because there is a reputation. Even poor people in other countries have been exposed to movies. The U.S. exports its culture, and Black men do have a reputation. And one of them is that their women mistreat them. So women in other countries believe
it's up to you when you go overseas for you to purport yourself in a different manner. And when you do, they will pick up on that. If you go overseas and you want to be the thug, you want to be the drug dealer, whatever, you want to do that, they will perceive you as that and they will treat you accordingly. I'll tell you this. I had a friend from Alabama. He's very dark skinned. When we went to Barcelona, he wanted to, this is a almost 40-year-old man. He wanted to pretend like, he was thug and this and that. Well, when we got to the clubs, they wouldn't let him in. And we're like, why won't you let him in? Can't you see he's American just like the rest of us? But because of his dark skin and the way he was acting, they viewed him as a Nigerian trying to sell drugs in their club. So they would not let him in their club. But they had no problem letting the rest of us in because we weren't acting in the manner that he did. So effectively, we couldn't go. We had to stay together. So we couldn't get into this club because we couldn't leave him outside. He's still pissed off about that to this day.
Wow.
And this was 25 years ago. So yeah, it's whatever. When you go overseas, like we said, adopt the culture. Go over there. If you go over there with a humble spirit, you'll be perceived that way. I'm not saying be a simp when you go over there. All you got to do is be masculine, be humble, and all these stereotypes that they try to put on Black men over here. No, don't accept them. That's not you. If you're not a drug dealer here, don't try to be one when you go overseas. Don't try to make them think you're one.
Right. Cause that's what I was thinking, man. Cause I don't want my whole image and perception to, thrown out for saying something that I ain't.
No, no. What you have is a very feminine mindset to think. You're creating all these conversations in your head before you even get there, and that's what women do. Women create all these negative scenarios.
Just be yourself.
Cool.
Yeah, by the time we start traveling, from all the conversations that we've had over the past year or so, you should be well prepared.
Much obliged. Yeah, man. Ted, I enjoyed this. Yeah. I need to start taking some more notes.
Yeah, but I think really, even if you go abroad and bring the what you've learned here, you can find yourself in trouble. So what Dennis was saying, make sure you learn the culture there. I mean, there are a lot of people in the U.S. who've embraced feminism and don't realize it. Like, we've all had it thrown on us, like someone throwing paint in a room, and everyone in the room got a little splash of paint on them. I think that's a big challenge here, and even men don't realize it.
Yeah, that's another thing, Kendrick. When you travel, you gotta watch yourself. You have to watch yourself, because when in particular, one year, we had been to the Bahamas more than once, but one year we went to Nassau, and Nassau is, their big city. It's like being in Trenton, New Jersey, or Newark. Well, it's like their
Really?
city. So
Really? Keep
you
going.
never been to Nassau, Ted?
No, I have not. No, when you said it's like Newark, New Jersey, I'm like, wow, really?
Yeah, well, it's urban. I mean, I haven't been all over the Bahamas. I don't know, but I know Nassau is at least one of their big cities.
Okay.
So it's almost like being in Trenton. It's not to that magnitude, but you understand what I'm trying to say?
I do.
It's very equivalent. It's very busy there. It's like an urban environment, but not the same. It's not at the same magnitude that it would be over here. But what I'm trying to say is, like, because we were on a cruise. So as soon as we had been to Nassau twice, but this past year before we separated, in last November we went, and when we hit the Strip, I had to literally grab her hand and make her walk behind me so that I could lead the way, because they can tell when you're not from there. They know who's American and who's not.
Right.
And,
right.
Brothers were walking and damn near trying to knock us down. You know what I mean? So, they treat us like we're stupid, because, like what Ted and Chris were saying, because how we portray ourselves. They think maybe not all of us, but they think that we're pushovers. So you got to be careful when you travel. So just be very careful when you're traveling abroad.
When I was in Belize City is like Newark. It reminds you, it's what you're saying, Anthony. It has that Newark, New Jersey. It's very black, and it's urban.
Yeah.
And so I was there was a woman who was living with me, and she went to go stay in Belize for 2 months. And after 30 days there, I went down there to visit her. She picks me up, meets me at the airport. We're in Belize City. And when I see two brothers walking towards us, we're walking down the sidewalk, and one of them said, he just said, "Hey," and I said, "How you doing?" And he said, "How you doing? How you doing? Where are you from? You're not from around here." Like, he immediately knew I wasn't from there, and I later learned, because I stayed there a few months, that all I had to do was kind of grunt to say, yeah. I didn't have to say any words. That was how they greet one another. So I understand what you're saying. But I was just off the plane. So that after staying there a little while, I understood the lay of the land. And the thing about Belize is they speak English, so I didn't have to learn the language. So
yeah, I had I knew two older guys. I'm a Moor, so I was very close to two older brothers that were from Belize.
Oh, cool.
They're very down there.
Cool.
Yeah, they're very good brothers.
So what are your concluding thoughts from this? And I saw SW. Thanks for the acknowledgement. He said this is a very real show tonight. What do you guys? What are takeaways? Final thoughts on this show tonight? And someone's got I guess a smoke detector that's just going off back there.
I'll
gotta get a battery.
I'll say this, Ted. The bottom line is I want younger black men to learn from the mistakes of our mistakes. Don't chase these American black women. They're not worth it. They don't know how to be feminine. They refuse to cooperate with you. They would rather compete with you in a market they're losing. So instead of trying to be with them and waste your time looking for a wife and a helpmate, go overseas. And when you go overseas, embrace your masculinity and adopt their culture, and you will find a wife. Don't go over there looking for a fuck toy. Look for a wife. And that's it.
Well said. Anyone else?
Yep, that was confirmation enough for me right there, Ted. So I appreciate that.
All right, good enough. Great. I'm glad you definitely had some confirmation from that. Anthony, anything you want to say? Final thoughts?
I just want to further exemplify what Chris said. Just focus on yourself. Work on yourself. Develop yourself. Travel as much as you can. Don't become a victim of lust. Have fun, but don't become a victim of lust. Don't let lust overcome you. And don't let women, any woman, pull you off your back. Don't get distracted by sex. Stay on your path. Stay focused.
Well said. And I would say that one of the things men are going to have to do is get really comfortable being masculine again. There are women who appreciate that. And if you go overseas just looking for sex, you're going to be in the same exact situation here, just chasing pussy. And women, they know that. That's women all over the world understand that. And they will exploit you. And what Anthony said about developing yourself, the more you develop yourself, the easier it is for you to determine who the right people are to be around you in your life. And if you are looking for a woman who's going to support you in the things that you want, you cannot be afraid to be masculine. It's in your best interest to develop yourself so that you can have the right mindset so that you can meet someone who's really compatible for you in that mindset. Because as you just said, Anthony, you meet someone, it's just about lust. You're going to end up in a very similar situation as dating someone from here. So whether you go overseas or you deal with someone here, develop yourself, get really comfortable and powerful with your own masculinity. Do not be afraid to put your foot on a woman's neck and put down the boundaries that you want. And if she complains you're treating her like a child, then she should stop acting like one. Do not be afraid to take that kind of position in a relationship. And you will get far more respect than if she walks away, let her walk away, because if every man does that, she'll have dead-end streets no matter where she goes. Aside from that, you guys are definitely great. Dennis Spurling was a phenomenal guest. I love the way you guys interacted and always love the callers. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Reggie, for supporting me and making that happen. And I'll say it again, and that is the kind of cooperation that has to happen. Whether you go abroad looking for a woman, one of the things that black men especially, are going to have to do here in the U.S. is start thinking about job creation, which means business creation, and it's going to require collaboration between us. So with that said, thanks a lot, guys. And I look forward to another hot topic next Sunday. You guys though I do these YouTube and chills where the conversation is much more intimate, always like to talk about intimacy or specifically sex. So if you haven't seen YouTube and Chill, this is the birth of YouTube and Chill right here with Ted Santos. It grew out of Straight Talk. So I love the support. Thank you for the super chat, guys, and the Cash Apps. And I love the support I'm getting from you guys. Share this video. Every man needs to see it. If you haven't liked it, like it before you go out. And until next week, have a great rest of the week, guys. Take care, and I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.